Good evening and welcome to the last Board of Education meeting for the year 2021. It is Monday, December 20th. It is 6:05 p.m. and we are in the Nashua North boardroom. Let's begin just by reiterating the rules as I've been doing since about May. And I know that this particular audience is familiar and I'm not worried, but I'm going to say it so that I'm being fair to everyone. So the rules for participation in public board meetings is that you only have one person speaking at a time. That goes for everybody, including members at the circle. That we also refrain from shouting out from the audience or using, I would prefer that we refrain from using profane language, although I can't stop you. I also ask that we keep our doorways open so that if there's a fire, everyone can get out safely. The fire marshal has shared with us that our room is at capacity at 120 people. I ask that everyone continue to properly wear their masks, covering their nose and mouth, so that we can do our best to stop the spread of the COVID virus while we're all packed in here. I think that's it. So with that, Ms. Bishop, could you please call the roll? And read the prayer. And Mr. Mourinho, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
Ms. Bishop is here. Ms. Julio is not here. Ms. Raymond?
I'm here.
Ms. Oden?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Present.
Ms. Johnson?
Ms.
Present.
Okay. Just as a note, Ms. Johnson is participating by phone with consent of the board due to a medical issue. Any objections? Excellent. There are no objections.
Mr. Guarino?
Here.
Ms. Ziem?
Here.
Ms. Timmons?
Here.
We also have Dr. McKinney, Dr. Sarfty, Mr. Parker, Mr. Donovan, and Ms. Carey. And our student representatives, Ms. Brunel and Mr. Dunn.
Okay.
And a prayer. One sec. Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty of managing the educational institutions of our beloved city. In our common endeavors, may we find a spirit of unity and understanding which will enable us to face our multiple problems with an objective mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will be for the betterment and greater happiness for all of our citizens. Amen.
All right. If we could all rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. So the first item on our agenda this evening is a presentation by Principal Mr. Mahoney and Vice Principal Ms. Dyer from Bicentennial School. Mr. Mahoney and Ms. Dyer, do you need the projector? No? Okay, excellent. Okay, so there is a button at the bottom, at the base of the microphone itself. And if it is green, bright green, then you're on. If it's not green, then you're not. We can't hear you.
We're on, thank you.
Okay, great.
I chose a December meeting to sign up for, hoping it would snow. And kind of slide my way out of this. But before Laura and I begin, I wanted to quickly tell you a short little story. Back in 2003, I was teaching at Pennachuck Junior High, and we were getting a new boss that summer. And I was kind of terrified to meet my new boss because I knew I had to tell him that I was going to be late for school the first day of school, and I was afraid I was going to make a horrible first impression. So I walked in and I introduced myself and I told him my story, and he said, well, you actually just made a very good impression because your son only goes to first grade once. That principal was Paul Asbell. Paul passed away just about a week ago. And he was very special to all of us who worked with Paul at Pennachuck. And I wanted to publicly acknowledge that and express our condolences to his family, his wife Esther. He's the reason I'm doing the job I do right now. My dad told me to get my master's, and Paul told me to use it. So thank you for that. We have more of a recognition here than it is a presentation. The Unified Arts team at Bicentennial is second to none in our eyes. We are privileged to be in a position to say this. What they provide for our students is too often underappreciated or unnoticed. What is it that they do provide to our students? They serve as trusted, familiar faces to over 520 students. Unlike teachers in other positions, they do this for every student for 6 years. They give students the map to various avenues as they pursue their passions and discover talents that might otherwise go untapped. Our students are good at 100 different things, yet we tend to focus on just 2 of them, the ones we test them on. It's important to acknowledge and celebrate all types of talent and passion in any form it takes. Our Unified Arts teachers are the keys behind this work and are the unsung heroes among our educators. Please allow us to tell you a little bit about each of ours at Bicentennial.
Julie Slattery. The spirit and vibrance of Bicentennial Elementary can be traced in many ways to our fabulous art teacher, Julie Slattery. Miss Slattery is, in many ways, the pulse of our school. She makes every effort to share successes of her students with our entire school community, including in typical school years, facilitating a school-wide art show. This allows our entire building to celebrate the creativity of our students. Julie's talents as an educator can be topped only by her caring and kindness. Julie was instrumental in creating our community building committee 2 years ago. This committee was the product of Julie's desire to foster, among both our students and staff, a sense of family at our school. In this effort, she has taken a leadership role at Bicentennial after recognizing that as much as we need to support students' social emotional needs, we also need to take care of ourselves and appreciate each other. Julie is one of the driving forces behind the bonds we create with one another every day, and she does it all with a smile and a kind word.
Evan Johnson. At a time when students are burdened with unprecedented levels of anxiety and social and emotional roadblocks, it is vital that schools have people who are equipped to meet these needs. Evan Johnson certainly provides this to the students of Bicentennial as he fosters a positive and supportive climate in his PE class. This means that all participants are valued, but more importantly, he is a reassuring presence who uses every interaction as an opportunity to make students feel good about themselves, respect one another, and to learn life lessons. Physical education, by its very nature, presents a wide variety of challenges to students in the form of comfort, social interaction, problem-solving strategies, and the inevitable experience of not always winning. Evan Johnson does this with his positive, reassuring demeanor as he encourages students to strive towards their potential in all they do.
Danielle Wells. One of the most important components of any elementary school experience is the development of literacy and a love of books. The energy and positivity that Danielle brings to our library every day is something to behold. She creates opportunities for all students to feel successful and significant in her classroom. She puts her heart on her sleeve when she shares her own excitement about a book or activity, and students are absorbed by this. Students eagerly arrive each week to get that next book and to seek her suggestions for finding one. Danielle greets every student each day as if it was the first time meeting. She is genuinely excited to see her students enter her room, and they know it. All staff members feel her generosity and flexibility as well. She makes herself and her resources available to her colleagues as she supports the many activities and projects that are going on in different classrooms around the school. She also never says no to an idea or request. The positive impact Danielle Wells makes on everyone who meets her is immeasurable.
And finally, Pat Koshan. Pat has been a teacher for most of her life and a fixture at Bicentennial for 35 years. She's a gifted educator and looks for the unique gifts in her students. She seeks out strategies to connect with all students, especially those students who are struggling, while teaching them to love and appreciate music of all types. Pat provides access to a wide range of musical styles, mediums, and techniques. Students are provided opportunities to move, sing, and feel music. Pat meets every challenge as an opportunity to be better and to look at things in a different way. This vision is certainly conveyed to all her students at every opportunity, and they will go forward in life being better for it. Even beyond the thousands of students that Pat has impacted throughout the years, she has been an incredible example to her fellow teachers who have had the privilege to witness her work on a day-to-day basis. Pat Cochon will always serve her colleagues as a wonderful reminder of why they chose to teach in the first place. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney and Ms. Dyer. Okay, did anyone have any comments or questions? No? All right, thank you, we appreciate it. I would like to say that I have seen some of the art around Bicentennial in the past when going there for basketball games, and it is truly extraordinary, so thank you for that. Okay, next on the agenda, the board has some recognitions for some of our members who are departing here at the end of this month. So.
Good evening. I just wanted to take a moment to recognize some outgoing board members for their service, as well as our student reps. On behalf of the administration, I have a plaque that I'd like to present to each member. The plaque reads, "The Board of Education, Nashua, New Hampshire, in recognition of dedicated service to the city of Nashua and its students, hereby expresses sincere appreciation to the following for serving as a board member of the Board of Education from January 2014 to December 2021, and for serving also as a president of the Board of Education." This first plaque is presented to Mrs. Dottie Oden.
Thank you all, and thank you for all you do for all of our students.
This next plaque is presented serving as a member of the Board of Education from January 2018 to December 2021, Ms. Gloria Timmons.
Thank you. Huh?
I can't hug you, Chris.
Oh, thanks.
And last but not least, for serving as a member of the Board of Education from January 2018 to 21, and for serving terms as the clerk of the Board of Education, Mr. Raymond Garino. I want to take a moment to recognize our two student reps who not only served as student reps this year, but also through a pandemic, so extra credit to you. These certificates of recognition read, the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools recognize the dedicated service to the City of Nashua and its students, and hereby expresses sincere appreciation to the following for serving as the student member of the Board of Education, Nashua, New Hampshire, January through December 2021. Spencer Dunn, Nashua High School North, class of 21. And last but certainly not least, she's small and quiet, but carries the voice of all the students. Liz Brunell, Nashua High School South, class of 21. Yep.
All right, thank you for your patience. I always find it very awkward walking all the way around to the podium. I did want to take just a second and comment on the flowers that we gave out tonight. In Victorian times, it was very popular for people to assign meanings to flowers and give them out to their friends and relatives. If you gave flowers to someone, they would spend time figuring out what the message of your flowers was. So in this case, we picked calla lilies for remembrance and yellow roses for friendship. So I hope that y'all will keep that in your heart as you move on to the next stage. So thank you so much. Okay, so next on our agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add or remove from the consent agenda? Okay. At this time, I am looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, the motion is by Ms. Timmons. Can I have a second, please? Seconded by Ms. Oden. Because we have Ms. Johnson on the phone, we do have to do roll call, please.
On the motion to approve the consent agenda, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio is absent. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. I have no items removed from the consent agenda. Do we have any communication outside of the consent agenda this evening? Okay, hearing none. This brings us to our first public question comment period, limited to items on this agenda. Having said that, Mayor Donchis has asked to speak with us during public comment period, so I will speak with him as he has another engagement. I'm going to assume that we'll tie it into relevancy.
Well, thank you, Madam President, for recognizing me and allowing me to speak to you tonight. And I wanted to speak to you regarding the importance of importance for the future of our city. Everybody here is committed to an excellent education for every student. And both parties to these negotiations have worked very hard to achieve some.
Oh, I don't think the microphone is on, or perhaps it's too low.
Oh. All right, I'm here to speak about the importance of reaching an agreement with the city's teachers. Everybody I know, all parties, our Board of Ed and our teachers and their union are very committed to an excellent education for every student. Something very important to the future of our city, because an excellent education, excellent schools mean an excellent city. Parties have been negotiating for quite a while, and teachers have been working under very difficult conditions. And you've heard all the details, I'm sure. 2 years now, the COVID-19 pandemic, remote learning, all the associated problems that have come with that. And I think we all owe them a debt of gratitude for the dedicated service they have provided to our students and to our city as a whole. Now, in these negotiations, and I know you reached an impasse late last week, I think both parties have achieved quite a bit. You were looking for better pay for starting teachers. And I think the teachers union has been looking for some improvement at the top. Now it is clear, and it's been clear for some time, that our teachers in Nashua, at least compared with peers around New Hampshire, looking at the average salaries, we are in the middle of the state as far as average salaries. And in my opinion, we need to move up from there. So compared with our peers, we're not paying our teachers particularly well. Now, Now, you too, I know, Madam President, and members of the board agreed with that. And you've made significant strides in seeking to improve teachers' pay. We need to continue to work on that. But right now, the parties are very close in terms of their negotiations. The teachers have made one big concession that I, and at least the city administration, was looking for from all employee groups, which is an agreement to the city's reformed health care plan. And with that agreement, there are significant savings realized to the city to offset a significant portion of the raises that are being discussed. So right now, the parties are very close, within less than a small percentage, less than a 0.25% or less than a 0.25% per year over a 4-year contract. The parties are that close. We're coming to the end of the year. I'm hoping that, and I believe, having reviewed the details since the impasse was reached, that the financial terms regarding teachers' pay that the teachers are requesting, given that they are so close with what you've offered, their terms are, in my opinion, reasonable. And I think that the board should make every effort, and we at City Hall will help you in terms of providing the funding to support such a contract. I believe the board members should make every effort to try to meet the financial terms that the teachers have requested. Now, there might be some administrative details regarding assignments or things like that that maybe are beyond the purview of the financial arrangement, and I don't know all of the details there. But before I conclude, I want to make it clear that as mayor, I do not have a vote. I do not run the school department. I am just, and you are entrusted to do that. And then, Madam President, you and the other board members have done a great job in doing that over this COVID period, these last difficult 2 years. But as the mayor, as someone who is looking out for the overall good of the city and the future of our community, I think the parties are so close that really, and the terms requested by the teachers at this point, especially given the concession on health care, really makes sense. And I hope that when the parties get together again, you can find a way to reach an agreement so that we can all look forward into the future and work together on maintaining and improving the education we offer to our students. And that's it, Madam President. If anyone did have any questions for me, of course, I could answer them, but you may not.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So this evening, I have 13 people signed up to speak at public comments, and we have typically 15 minutes for it. So I'm going to ask everybody to try and keep your statements to 3 minutes or less, which will take us over the 15 minutes. But if we could be as brief as possible to be respectful of everybody's time. I know many of you have to get up early tomorrow morning, and I appreciate how many have come out. I'm just going to go right down in order. Ms. Bishop will have a timer to remind people when you're getting close to the time. So I have Elisa Cunningham. I also just want to point out that, oh, it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Good evening. I will try to be very brief so I give more time to my esteemed colleagues. My name is Elisa Cunningham. I am the Special Education Office Manager for the district. I am also the Vice President and Chairman of the Negotiating Committee for the Nashua Association of School Administrators and Supervisors, otherwise known as NASAS. You have before you our tentative agreement that was negotiated with the district, the Board of Ed, the Superintendent's Office. and it was ratified by a quorum of membership of 26-4. Just to give you a brief overview of the process, the Board of Education on 12/17/20 agreed that we hire Municipal Resources, Inc. to do both a regional market study and salary survey of administrative and supervisory positions with a regional area, other districts. And from that, they did put together those surveys. Labor grades were established and agreed upon by both the department directors and the superintendent's office. And those labor grades were based on experience needed, degree or certification required, responsibility of the position, complexity of duties, the need to work independently, the supervision, exercise, and consequences of error. So each position was put on a labor grade based on those qualities. Each member was then placed on a salary step for fiscal year 21-22. This is a 3-year contract that has been proposed. And the labor grade was based on current salary. And I just want to say that the salary scale was negotiated and agreed upon by both NASIS and the district, and again ratified by the by NASIS, by the association. I'd like to thank everyone involved in the process and ask for the board's approval of that contract this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I appreciate how engaged everybody is, but if we clap every time, we're going to be here all night. So it's up, I can't stop anybody, but I would suggest that we save it so that we can give everybody a chance to speak. All right, I have Pat Snow and then Adam Marku.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be back in Nashua. I am here tonight to thank Dottie Oden for her many, many years of dedication to this district. Dottie was my paraprofessional when I was a 3rd grade teacher at Amherst Street School. We had so many wonderful moments with our kids, and Dottie's heart was always, and that's why I got red, to represent the child, her passion for the children of Nashua, the teachers, the administrators, and her fellow colleagues. You are all amazing. Keep the passion in Nashua. I do follow very closely, and you are losing one of the greatest members of the community, but she'll still be here, and you can always contact Dottie. She's 24/7. She's worked tirelessly. She and I might be out shopping, but she is so dedicated and cares very deeply about this entire community. And you've been through many challenges. I myself taught last year full-time, well, part-time, but in a school that was open the whole year, and going back and forth with the remote and with children in the classroom. Teaching is harder than administration because I was just a principal. So it was so difficult. The challenges, the social emotional challenges that the kids face, the teachers face, the staff, the entire community. So Dottie, from the bottom of my heart, and I think from everybody here, thank you for what you've done. You're amazing, and your legacy will live on in everybody who votes for children of Nashua. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marku, and then it looks like Cheryl Mysig.
Good evening, Adam Marku. I live at 4 Jalori Lane. I'm president of the Nashua Teachers Union. I have 3 children, 2 of which are in Nashua schools. Before I start, I'd like to thank Ms. Timmons, Mr. Garino, Mrs. Oden, Mr. Dunn, and Ms. Brunel for their service to the board. It has been challenging over the last 20 months. and there's been a lot going on in person, remote, here, there, and everywhere. And you all had a lot of decisions to make that were very difficult. And we appreciate your efforts to support the Nashua School District, our students and our teachers and our staff. And to the 2 student reps, you always came ready to represent your constituents, spoke very articulate, and represented North and South very well. So we appreciate your efforts and wish you well as you move forward. Tonight, I have a letter here from the Nashua Board of Directors, from the Nashua Teachers Union, addressed to the board and to Dr. McKinney. The Board of Directors of the Nashua Teachers Union is issuing this statement of concern to address the poor working conditions experienced by our members this school year. Consequently, employee morale is the lowest it has been in recent memory. We urge all of you, the Board of Education, the staff at Central Office, to work with us to improve working conditions immediately. If these concerns aren't met, it is likely that the resignations and retirements that have happened already will continue, and this may affect the district's ability to provide the quality education that the children of our city deserve. The poor working conditions include, but are not limited to, the following: having paraeducators substitute for teachers and lunch monitors, thus being unavailable to support their assigned students. Splitting established classrooms among teachers because of the lack of staff and/or long-term substitutes. Filling auditoriums and cafeterias with students when there aren't enough staff or substitutes to cover the classrooms, thus risking staff and student health without proper distancing to be maintained. Understaffed school kitchens, ineffective management of inappropriate student behavior, implementing changes without proper training, communication between central and district staff, addressing the unprecedented increase in special education and ELL workloads, failure to include staff in COVID testing, lack of transparency on the methods of calculating weekly COVID numbers at each school, poor implementation of initiatives through professional development or lack thereof, and should be focused mainly on the ELL requirements as required in the Department of Justice settlement. Pulling nurses to float and cover other schools, lack of nurse coverage and support, increased paperwork and documentation for nurses related to COVID, and increased visits from students. We are requesting that the creation of a paid joint committee between the Nashua Teachers Union and the Board of Education to address our working conditions. Staff from each level, special ed, ELL, and the board, we'd like to see progress on our concerns by March in the committee to meet quarterly to continue improving working conditions. As you have heard at past meetings through emails, phone calls, and public comment, these concerns are not limited to a few malcontents. These concerns are shared by many of the staff members who work for this district, yet our concerns and solutions that we have suggested have not been addressed. We are not coming forward to dump our problems on you and expecting you to make them just go away. Instead, we are identifying specific concerns, willing to help you find potential solutions, and wanting to work towards implementing the changes in a productive manner. We look forward to that opportunity. Sincerely, the Board of Directors of the Nashua Teachers Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marku. Cheryl Mysig, and then Amy Rich.
Cheryl Mysig, 13 Tufts Drive. I'm a science head teacher at Nashua North, and this is my 9th year in the district, and my sons have been students here in Nashua for much longer. As a Nashua resident for nearly 15 years, this is my first time coming to speak at the BOE. I'm here to share thoughts compiled from a number of high school Nashua North head teachers that are important for both the BOE and the Nashua community to hear. Amy, Rich, and I will be speaking back to back so we don't exceed the 3 minutes. Based on this evening's district goals update under unfinished business, the board will be discussing the current staffing issues. Additionally, at the most recent Finance Committee meeting on December 13th, Mr. Donovan mentioned the trouble that Nashua School District is having filling open substitute teacher positions, which has led to a surplus in the line item for daily subs. We want to share some information to illustrate how much of a crisis exists at the high school day to day and offer some possible solutions. The lack of daily substitutes has a notable impact on student learning, as well as the culture and climate of our school. On any given day, 10 to 15 teachers may be out of school, with only 2 to 3 substitutes in the building. Therefore, students are sent to the auditorium, media center, and sometimes the cafeteria and lecture hall. There are days in the auditorium with 1 or 2 substitutes with up to 300 students. We also have teachers who are out on approved leave for various medical reasons or significant life events. And we are similarly challenged by a lack of long-term subs. Some students are in the auditorium for multiple blocks a day, some for multiple days during the week. Students feel they are not learning, since 1 or 2 subs overseeing multiple classes cannot carry out subplans or accurately take attendance. This situation has increased student apathy and disengagement. Students aren't just missing learning opportunities, but holding all of these students in this manner with minimal adult supervision is a safety risk. The lack of appropriate staffing results in students wandering the halls, leading to increased incidents of student misconduct. Overwhelmed with disciplinary issues, administrators are doing their best to address infractions. Overall, there are not enough administrators, security personnel, teachers, or staff to plug the holes created by a lack of substitutes. This has caused a ripple effect on everyone in the building, and it negatively impacts the culture of our school. For student and staff safety, this crisis must be addressed immediately. While there are many issues rooted in the lack of daily and long-term substitutes, we believe there are viable solutions. Thank you for your time. Amy Rich will share our thoughts on some of the possible solutions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Rich, 8 Brick Manor Drive, social studies head teacher at North, a Nashua teacher for 15 years, and also a parent to 2 students in the Nashua School District. While this is a large issue, we would like to suggest some solutions. First, the Nashua School District could form strategic alliances with leaders of education programs in local colleges such as Riviere and NCC to recruit college students studying to become teachers. Creating an ongoing partnership between college programs and the school district and promoting the importance of classroom experience as a substitute would benefit both the school district and the education students. These students would have connections to Nashua staff and students, which would lay the groundwork for a first-year teaching position. In fact, substitute teaching can be a valuable experience for those pursuing many different careers, not just those in teacher education programs. And it could provide a flexible learning employment option to work with college schedules. The Nashua School District should also actively advertise open positions through all forms of social media. While posting open positions on employment websites may have worked in the past, a large part of today's workforce utilizes social media as a source of information and networking. There must be a campaign of active recruitment for all positions. Also, don't underestimate the value of human contact. When I started in Nashua, before we had Frontline, we had a sub-collar position and the fill rate for substitute teachers was excellent. We should strive for more personal contact with prospective, current, and former substitutes. Additionally, parents and other community members are a vital resource and should be called upon to share information on open positions with those in their circle and substitute if they can. Most importantly, an increase in substitute pay would put the district in a competitive position to attract substitutes. Currently, all of our neighboring districts pay daily substitutes a minimum of $100 per day. Many pay $110, and some pay between $120 and $150 per day. According to the Finance Committee minutes from December 13th, we have about have spent about $100,000 less on substitutes than we typically have by the end of November, based on the average. A modest bump to $110 per day in substitute pay would make the rate competitive and still remain within the budget. Last year, we were faced with a situation that warranted a temporary increase in substitute pay. This year, we are faced with a different yet equally difficult crisis. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to highlight the situation and provide solutions. We care about the staff and students of the Nashua School District. We have excellent schools with invested staff who do their best every day for our kids. We understand this is a huge problem, both state and nationwide, but that is all the more reason why we cannot do what we've always done. The substitute shortage has reached a crisis level and must be immediately addressed to maintain a safe and functional learning environment, particularly at the high school level.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Oh, I can't read this.
Cheryl Mysig?
No, we got that one. This one. Miss Mastro Marino, and then after that, Walter Freeman. Also, I know I asked you guys to try and keep it within the 3 minutes, but I'm trying to take notes, so just Slightly slower. So, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Arvilla Master Mourinho, and I guess I need to say 207 Manchester Street. Science is my passion. I've been teaching and sharing science for years. When my kids were little, I worked in biomedical and oceanographic research for 14 years before I became a teacher, and I've been teaching for 15 years now. Teaching science takes time. It takes time to set up. It takes time to develop engaging activities for students and modify for ELL and for our 504s, our students. I recently took a look at how much time I had been serving along with the steering committees and things, and I've been putting in between 360 and 432 unpaid hours a year. That's a lot, and I'm not the only one that does that. I also work a second job when I go home to make ends meet. During the summer, I don't take the summer off. I work as a field hand, working in the fields, harvesting vegetables and doing that stuff. And I still work my second job then too. That pays for auto repairs, house repairs. I have a son in college. I have a husband with medical bills. I wanted to share this with you. A student of mine 10 years ago drew this picture. His assignment was to make a picture of a scientist. He drew me. And as you can see, I've matted it, I framed it, I've taken care of it, I value it. The school I was teaching at paid more than the districts around because they wanted to attract great teachers and keep them. Can Nashua say that as well? When you value something, you take care of it and you help it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman, and then Joy Simeone, thank you.
Walt Freeman, 4 Pasadena Avenue, English teacher at Nashua North. I've been an English teacher for 32 years, which is going to explain my approach here. I'm too darn old to change my stripes. We all want the same things for our schools. We want kids to be healthy, safe, and educated. But the truth is we're failing at these goals. If I were to write a futuristic dystopian high school novel, I would begin with a deadly pandemic as a backdrop. The schools in my dystopian novel would be infested with violence and apathy. Hundreds of teacherless students a day would be herded like cattle into viral holding pens to wait out the day because there was no one available to come in and teach them. Educational time would be replaced by empty time. Halls and bathrooms would be places of violence, classes, places of disrespect, hostility, apathy, and cell phones. Cheating would be the fastest means to an end. The building leaders would have their hands tied. The district leaders would say, just keep swimming. The kindest people we know would be punched and kicked. Even the armed police officers in the building would be assaulted because there was no fear of meaningful consequences. Property would be vandalized for social media status. Some with barbaric natures would record and revel in the violence and humiliation of others. There would be no deterrent to not cross lines that should never be crossed. And instead of supporting educators, the city would demand more and give little. The state government would encourage bounties on those who displease their ideology and demand loyalty oaths. They would rage about non-existent curriculum problems and stoke irrational fears. Millions of dollars in health aid would be turned down and millions more diverted to create a new educational system that only truly benefits the wealthy and the privileged. Teachers who struggled heroically to keep a sinking ship afloat would be insulted and disregarded and disrespected. Every day would be a nightmare. But sadly, I don't have to write this novel. All of us are living this novel daily in a bizarre and shameful reality. There's no dystopian future. There's a dystopian now. But if we truly want things to change, then the need to act is now. Start with educators, the people who reinvented school no less than 3 times during the pandemic, using our own ingenuity and resources to keep students learning, graduating, and going on to colleges and careers. Every time we were asked, we stepped up. We sacrificed, we innovated, we adapted. And we did it for the kids in more ways than I can name here. And still, each day, we work in a violent and viral dystopian nightmare to keep it all going. And here we are, fighting for scraps from the table. What an insult it is to come here and ask what should be offered to us gratefully. Instead, we have to beg for a cost of living increase that does not cover the cost of living, and endure proposed contract language designed to weaken the NTU presidency and by extension the rest of the union. At what point do you think we'll have had enough? I'm here to urge you to pass this contract and address these issues because there's no trump cards to play anymore. There's no substitute. There are very few teachers waiting in the wings to teach in Nashua. There's only us, and just barely us. And our ranks are rapidly dwindling. And right now, under these conditions, we're angry at the never-ending string of things that we endure daily. So please keep this in mind when you sit down at the next negotiating table. And with respect to your call for appropriate language, to paraphrase the movie Network, we're mad as heck, and we're not going to take it anymore.
Thank you. Ms. Simeone, and then Diana Greer.
Joy Simeone, 15 Bay Meadow Drive in Nashua. I've been teaching at Pennachuck Middle School since it was Pennachuck Junior High, and that's a tough act to follow. But I'm here to say to you that most of the people who have spoken about the staffing problems and the issues that we're seeing in the schools represent the high schools. And I'm here to tell you, we are seeing the exact same thing in the middle school. We have 4, 5 classes at a time. We don't have an auditorium. We don't have a place to have kids sit down. So the only place for the kids to be herded is into the gymnasium. That's the only place. They can't go to the cafeteria. It needs to be used to feed kids. So when there are 4 teachers out and there are no substitutes, one paraprofessional gets to herd all of the kids into the gym. They have somehow managed to get into the equipment closet. They have taken all of the game basketballs and kicked them all over the place. They're scuffed the boys' basketballs, the girls' basketballs, all of the other gym equipment. Who's going to pay for that? There's no supervision. One person with more than 100 kids running rampant in a gym, how is that person supposed to handle it? And it's not a teacher. She's a para. She's not cut out for that. It's not what she's supposed to be doing. Why don't we have substitutes? I don't know why we don't have substitutes. Why don't they come back? They don't come back because they're not paid. They don't come back because they know that they might be doing hall duty like the rest of the teachers, and at junctions in the middle school, it looks like World Federation Wrestling. And then all the cell phones come out, and everybody's filming it, and within moments, it's all over social media. And this is the middle school. We have teachers who are putting themselves in harm's way, trying to break up fights. Why? Why? Is there any wonder that young teachers in our building who are excellent teachers are saying, yeah, planning my exit strategy, I'm not going to stick around here. And to boot, our school district doesn't respect us enough to give us a contract. It's very, very sad. It's not getting any better. It's not rosy out there. And those of us who have been teaching in this district as long as I have, as Walt Freeman said, it is dystopian now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Greer, and then Patty Duffett.
Diana Greer, I live at 199 Wilton Road. This is my 7th year as a teacher and my 3rd in the Nashua School District. As a teacher, I heard us being hailed as heroes last year for stepping up to the plate for remote and hybrid teaching. Things have not returned to normal in our classrooms, not even close. I'd argue that things have actually gotten worse. The students who were ghosts in our virtual classrooms show an obvious lack in skills. We are also seeing behavior problems in severity and numbers like never seen before in my 7 years of teaching. When I get dressed in the morning, I have to consider what I can wear to work to break up a fight, which I have on multiple occasions. I have had to look up on social media to see, is there a video of me having to put those two girls apart from each other? I was the one who found PMS Fights, the Instagram page, and had it taken down. We have more students who are disrespectful towards staff and their peers, disregarding our redirections, and not responding to consequences. I myself have been mocked for my tic that I have because of an anxiety disorder by students. We have students who are out for days or weeks at a time, sometimes for quarantine, others for vacations or competitions. When students fall behind on their grades and suffer because of this, parents blame us. Most teachers, including my entire team, post on Google Classroom in such cases. Reach out to students who are home and extend as much grace as we can. In return, we have students questioning, what did I miss? The district does not want to support us in these issues, I feel. They are driven by data and testing, which isn't going to benefit our students or our teachers in this moment. Instead, we are judged by the abilities of our students who have possibly not been in class for over a year. We are forced to group and schedule students ourselves based on their academic level. We are expected to be more than just teachers. We are special educators, ELL teachers, police officers, nurses, and mental health counselors. We are running ragged and cannot sustain this for the rest of the year. Stand up for teachers. Otherwise, we will be walking away. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Duffy, and then Letitia Meehan.
Hi, Patty Duffy, 39 Yarmouth Drive, Nashua. I'm a first grade teacher at Maine Dunstable Elementary. We all do things in our daily work lives that we must do whether we want to or not. But in this post-remote learning and working without a contract world, this challenging calling is made even more difficult by a district who imposes new initiatives without proper training or time to hone our skills. I've put together a list of things that make me uncomfortable as an educator in Nashua. Being in a classroom each day, working in proximity with our young unvaccinated children as COVID numbers increase across New Hampshire. Being told our district and parents support us, but then not being trusted to teach in a way that best serves our students. This leads us to feel that we are seen as glorified babysitters to the young students, as opposed to capable educators. Not being trusted to support my students' learning and to know where they are academically, as well as granted the freedom to support learning with scaffolded lessons to build them up. For example, we were expected to meet the district demand to collect math data from first graders that measures proficiency to subtract using the take from 10 strategy, when I know that there are kids in my class who don't yet know how to read, write, or compose numbers above 10. This rush for data collection does not give us time to properly teach a unit, let alone give a student time to master the foundational skills required. We're told to meet the social emotional needs of students who require support in learning self-management skills now more than ever, but we're also told to teach lessons that they are not intellectually ready for. Spending my own money on resources, taking income away from my family so that I can buy books for my classroom library or a rug for my students to sit on, or cleaning wipes and Lysol spray to try to slow the spread of the coronavirus in my classroom. Being told to take care of ourselves and avoid burnout by reading books or attending self-care Zooms only adds to feeling overworked and overstressed. Many of us elementary teachers also feel the great burden in taking sick or personal time due to the lack of substitute teachers willing to come into a school during a pandemic. Having to come here to justify my worth as a city employee and defend what I know to be best teaching practices and to fight for what is given freely to employees in nearly every other profession. For example, a fair and consistent wage, more affordable health care, and the basic tools to do my job. Teaching throughout this pandemic forces us into uncomfortable situations, which puts the needs of others above our own and even that of our families. Yet teachers still show up every day. We give our students our very best because they need us. I fear we are reaching a point in which teachers are questioning if the satisfaction and joy that working with children brings is worth this fight every few years when a contract needs to be renegotiated. I was hired in 2012 and absolutely love this calling. But now, in my 10th year of teaching, I'm not sure how much longer we can go on feeling overworked and devalued. It feels to me that my school district does not believe teachers are worth paying a livable wage. Thank you for giving us this outlet and opportunity to share our experiences with you.
Thank you. Letitia Meehan, and then Sheila Dunbar.
Hi, I'm Letitia Meehan. I teach intensive needs over at Maine Dunstable School.
Is the microphone still on? I'm sorry, it's very quiet.
It's green.
Yeah.
Sorry. Better?
Yes.
Okay. I live at 65 Walden Pond Drive, and I teach intensive needs at Maine Dunstable. Every year, we lose an intensive needs teacher. We have 8 4th and 5th grade teachers at Maine Dunstable, and I work closely with them, with shared students. 3 of them are former special education teachers from Maine Dunstable. None of them left special ed because of the children. They left because of the paperwork. They left because of the added burden that we have in meeting state requirements for paperwork that is not placed on case managers' shoulders in other districts. So I did want to speak about that tonight. My mother retired as a special education teacher 25 years ago. She did not manage CUMES. She did not write paperwork for the state. She never even wrote an IEP. She submitted her goals and objectives to a child study team that wrote the IEP. And she made over $10,000 more than I am making right now when she retired 25 years ago. I'm 56. I've been teaching a long time. So I do want you all to think about the special ed issues in this contract and understand that we're losing a lot of special educators in this district and we need them. It's a tough job. It's an extremely rewarding job. I love my job. When I got to work on Friday and had 3 of my paras absent and 2 of them coming in late, which meant 0 paras for my program, I just thought, okay, well, I still get to be with my students, and that makes it worthwhile because our students are amazing, and it is a privilege to work with children and to help them meet their potential. But it's a tough job, and the paperwork makes it extremely difficult. And I'm not asking you guys to hire special ed secretaries in this environment. That would be huge, but I would like your consideration of the burden that we have with all that paperwork. On a positive note, I can't leave this podium without giving some kudos to my colleagues at Maine Dunstable. Every day, those teachers in regular ed step up. They meet the needs of intensive needs students without paras because we have no para substitutes. We have a shortage of paras all over the district. And then when the few paras we have are absent, we obviously don't have a sub. And our regular ed teachers are stepping up to the plate and they're going that extra mile to keep those kids involved and keep them mainstreamed without help. And our students also are stepping up. The students at Maine Dunstable are an amazing group of acceptance, and I think that comes down from our faculty, that they are willing to support children who are not just like them, who may have extra challenges. I also would like to speak to our administrators who have been working with intensive behaviors, not just in special ed, but in regular ed. Because of what children have been to the last 2 years, we have a lot of acting out children in schools. And I've seen my principal's office and my assistant principal's office torn apart by small children on many occasions. And they are meeting these children with love and patience, and a lot of them are making progress and turning around and learning how to be in school again. I just want you all to know how hard people are working and how much they love our kids. And I feel very blessed to be at Meehan Dunstable. I know a lot of my colleagues feel blessed to be in their schools, to be supporting each other, and to be doing their best. We have a lot on our plates, so that's what you're hearing tonight. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, Sheila Dunbar and then Mary Crum.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sheila Dunbar, 207 Manchester Street. I am a teacher at Pennachuck Middle School. I was looking at the agenda, and under policy, on page 42 of tonight's agenda, it speaks to a temporary COVID policy called EBCF-A, which seeks to allow up to 10 days of paid sick leave if an employee tests positive for COVID. The proposed policy states that it would not be applicable to employees who have already had COVID. So before you vote on this policy tonight, I'd like you to consider all employees, especially those like myself who have had COVID and I had to use 6 sick days. That's 55% of the sick days that are in our now expired contract. I'm also curious as to how many staff members have actually had COVID this year. Of course, we can't give out names. We know that. Today's newsletter from the interim superintendent said that there are 138 cases of COVID in the district this past week. I'm wondering how many of those are staff members. I know of at least 2 cases at my school of staff members because they have self-disclosed. So I would like you to consider all of that before voting on this policy. Although I do appreciate the policy, I think it really should apply to all cases of COVID this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. And Mary Crum.
Mary Crum, 16 Parkhurst Drive. I'm going to say a lot of the same things that you've heard already. I just want you to know that it is coming from a lot of staff. So you don't want the same people to get up here and say something. You want to hear it from everyone that has something to say. I've been working in Nashua for over 20 years and involved with schools for over 30 years. This is the first year that I feel demoralized, depressed, and disheartened. Last year was the most difficult year of my career, and yet, as a staff at Amherst Street School and all the schools, we struggled through. We supported each other. We taught each other the technology that we needed. We were there for each other. This year, we've been told to take care of ourselves so that we can care for the social emotional health of our students, and yet we've been given a new report card platform with limited instruction on how to use it, and a new math assessment, also with limited training. All this additional work with nothing coming off our plates. We have been offered a series of paid Zoom meetings to help handle stress, which is more stress. We really need more time in our classrooms and being able to work than less. I've read a lot about how much we're valued, and yet not monetarily, because you can't settle the contract. I'd like to start collecting some data about how many hours teachers work before school and after school, because it would be staggering. Our job demands more time than we have in a school day. We do it because we care about the success of our students and we care about our families. If you calculate the amount of overtime, and that's just what it is, you'll see that we are a bargain. We do so much. If you paid us the overtime that other professions get, you couldn't afford us. But we are a bargain. if you truly care about the social emotional health of the staff, look into what you can take off our plates, settle our contract, and give us an at-home COVID test so we can enjoy some time with our families over Christmas break.
Okay, thank you all. This ends the first public comment period for this evening. Here, can you put that in the book? Thank you.
Is there a second one out already?
Yep, the sign up for number 2 is at the podium. I just want to make a note. It sounded to me like every person who spoke was a member of our staff. So I'm going to make a note here because I don't believe we publish the addresses of staff members. I'm going to make a note.
There's no sign-up sheet on the podium. Did someone pick it up when they went to speak? There's no sign-up sheet.
There was, I'm sorry, that's very loud. There was, and there was somebody signed up for it. So if people brought papers up, you have Mr. Claffey's information that he wrote down when he signed up. So apologies to Mr. Claffey. So thank you for mentioning that because someone would have brought that home and then that would have been unfortunate. Okay. Oh, that clock is wrong. I keep looking up there. It says 9 o'clock. It's been saying 9 o'clock all day. Okay. Yeah. So the next item on our agenda is the superintendent's comments. Dr. McKinney.
Thank you, Madam President. I have 4 things for the community tonight. First, the COVID-19 pandemic. The rate of COVID-19 cases is increasing in Nashua. The unvaccinated are driving the increase. Public health officials advise us if you're seeking vaccination from local retail pharmacies and appointments, they're heavily booked, so please call and ask about walk-in service. Ms. Bagley, the Director of Public Health, tells us that pharmacies are overbooked, but vaccines are often available at retail pharmacies after 7 p.m. each evening, so please reach out and ask. Also, last week, 2 resourceful documents were published on our COVID-19 channel on the website. With the upcoming holidays, the City Public Health Division developed a summary of the CDC travel guidelines, outlining pre-travel guidance and post-travel guidance. Testing is important. Please remember, if you must not travel, if you have tested positive for COVID-19, sorry. Also, the New Hampshire Nurses Association released solid advice for holiday gatherings. The most important pieces of advice are for individuals to stay home if they have symptoms, and for non-vaccinated individuals to stay masked for their own health and safety, and for the safety of others, please become vaccinated. We encourage all to read and become familiar with these 2 recently released COVID-19 updates on our website. The second thing is congratulations to Marcia Bagley, Director of Special Education, for being named the 2022 Special Education Administrator of the Year. The New Hampshire Association of Special Education Administrators acknowledged Marcia at a special member meeting in Concord earlier this month. This recognition is a special one. Marcia has been named an administrator for the department for the past 14 years. She served as a preschool coordinator, assistant director, and now director, leading the department since 2018. COVID-19 has compounded the delivery and instruction of services for special education students in many ways. Collectively, we all salute Marcia for her strong leadership, particularly during the pandemic. Congratulations, Marcia. The third thing is, in January 1998, Superintendent Joseph Giuliano established a superintendent's faculty cabinet. The purpose of this cabinet was to provide an opportunity for the superintendent and teacher representatives from all schools to discuss and address issues, as well as share information. Meetings were scheduled once a month and held at the school administration building. Principals were asked to select 1 teacher from their faculty to represent each building on the cabinet. Beginning in January 2022, I'll be reestablishing the superintendent's faculty cabinet and sharing information to schools this week, so I hope teachers consider participating. And lastly, holidays in our schools. I'd like to end my comments tonight by acknowledging the holiday spirit in our schools. First, thanks to the generous efforts of our food service staff, 15 boxes of donated food items, 8 cases of milk, 45 dozen eggs were donated to the Nashua Soup Kitchen and Shelter earlier today. The Pennachuck Middle School cafeteria staff organized the drive, which included help from several dedicated retirees from the school district. And lastly, holiday and winter concerts have been taking place in our schools over the last few weeks. In fact, the last of many school concerts wrapped up earlier today. Just want to say thank you to Pete Johnson, the ETV administrator, and his team of videographers. ETV has videotaped all 12 school concerts. This Friday and Saturday, Christmas Eve and Christmas, ETV will play the concerts back-to-back all day, each and every day. Please enjoy the concerts by tuning into Channel 99 or view on ETV or the YouTube channel. And thank you to all our school band musicians and our choral members for lifting our spirits with great musical performances. I just want to take this time to wish everyone the best this holiday season. Enjoy the holidays and stay healthy and safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McKinney. I'm going to go around. Ms. Oden, response to the superintendent's comments?
Yes. Dr. McKinney, I thought you might speak tonight on the possibility of having teachers having a quick test for COVID. Were you going to speak to that?
Yes, because you just asked me to. Point-of-care testing will be available later this week for students and staff. I'll be sending a memo out to the principals and the school nurses about availability for point-of-care testing at the nurse's office.
Okay, thank you. And I want to thank you for instituting superintendent's cabinet again. I guess communication, what I think you'll find, there'll be some complaints, of course, and you'll hear some positives. But I think the biggest thing, you will realize that you can get a group of principals together and tell them one thing, and you will be surprised at how many different views there are of what you said. I can remember sitting at superintendent's cabinet and people saying, what? That's not what we were told. We were told this. So be prepared. But thank you for starting that. I think that's an important step in communication. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Brown?
Congratulations to Ms. Bagley on her nomination from the state. That's excellent news. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Guarino?
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to speak to the issue of COVID, and from what I understand, as COVID is getting worse, and this board has received emails and communications from teachers and parents about COVID and exposure to COVID, and from what I understand, our options are very limited when it comes to offering remote, that we do offer remote under certain circumstances, but basically the Department of Education, the State Department of Education, has kind of tied our hands. I remember back when we made the decision to go back into in-person learning, actually the state of New Hampshire made that decision for us, even though we voted for it after the announcement. And I abstained because I felt that the state of New Hampshire actually made that decision for us, that we would go back into in-person learning. But what's happened is they've tied our hands as far as giving options for remote. So I'm very concerned, because I'm very concerned about COVID and infection rates, and I would like to see this district do more to give options for remote learning for teachers and students, because from what I remember about, as we went back into in-person, there was about 30% of the parents, when we took our surveys, about around 30% would actually prefer remote, you know. But now it's very, very limited under certain circumstances. So I would like to ask administration to do more to expand options for remote for students as well as teachers. if that's possible. I don't know if I can make, I probably can't make a motion, but I would like to see us do that as a district. We don't have a Plan B, we just have a Plan A, in-person learning, as dictated by the state of New Hampshire. And I don't see any other options or any Plan B as this pandemic gets worse, and we're getting letters from teachers, we're getting emails from teachers as well as parents about COVID. And this COVID situation is getting worse. So I would like to see us do more to offer remote options and try to expand on that.
I'm sorry, is there a question? Are you asking him to respond to that? Or just?
I'm just I'm very frustrated that we don't have those options, and it seems like, it's falling on deaf ears at the state level, and we're just going along with what the state is telling us. So we as a district need to make our own plans and try to push the state or make, or have some options available, have a Plan B.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mr. Guarino.
I can't make a motion to ask that I'd like to make a motion that administration expand the options for remote learning. I don't know if you have president to allow it at this time.
You can make that motion.
I'd like to move that we have administration look into expanding options for remote learning for students beyond what we have now.
I guess you can make the motion. I think there'll be some discussion surrounding it. Ms. Timmons, are you seconding?
You made the motion?
Yes.
Oh, I'm seconding it, yes.
Right, so the motion is to have administration look into other options.
Expanding
options.
For remote learning beyond what we have now, giving that option to parents.
Okay. So I'm sure there's questions. I saw Mr. Dunn's hand, and I saw Ms. Ziem's hand. I have some questions as well. Go ahead, Mr. Dunn, and then Ms. Ziem.
I just want to say that when we were in the hybrid learning model as a student, teachers were stretched very thin between remote learning and in-person learning. It's very hard to communicate when you have half your class on Zoom and half your class in person. It was hard as a student to hear the fellow students on Zoom. It was hard when you were on Zoom to hear what was going on in the classroom, and teachers were stretched very thin from many teachers that I spoke with. And I think that was a hardship that many students and teachers had faced when we tried to expand remote learning. And I know that when we were full in person, that was much more minimized. And those hardships that we faced during hybrid learning were fully eliminated. So I think opening up this can of worms of opening up more remote learning opens up a whole host of opportunities for students to communicate less with their other students in class, for teachers to more problems for teachers and overall. And I think that as a whole, when we moved to full in-person learning, it eliminated a lot of those problems.
Thank you. Ms. Ziem and then Ms. Brunel.
While I agree with the heart of what you're asking for, having heard from administration how shorthanded we already are, we can't even man the in-person that we have been mandated to do. And so how can we expand any further when we're already struggling with this personnel shortage? So before I would vote for that, I would have to hear from Dr. McKinney and all of our administrators that it was something we could do, because I just don't, I wish it were. I wish it were feasible. I wish I could walk on water, but I can't. And so I think that administration would have to give me an encouraging sign before I could vote for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brunel?
As for students missing class due to COVID, our teachers have been great at utilizing Google Classroom. So even though kids may be absent due to a COVID exposure or just having COVID in general, the teachers have been on the dot with updating Google Classroom. I mean, for my math class, we have constant videos. Even when kids are here, she still posts all the videos. So I never feel like I'm skipping a beat, even if I'm missing class.
Thank you. Ms. Timmons?
Yes, I understand what Mr. Mourinho is saying about the kids and COVID, but however, we missed the boat. And we missed the boat a long time ago, and we need to rectify it. And the kids are out anyway. And I think this would give the opportunity, if we had some type of Zoom in the classroom without teachers actually going into a Zoom class with just people that want to go into remote learning, but have that's the option. There's kids that's been out of school a whole entire month, and if they was able to see their classes some kind of way, they wouldn't be behind as much as they are now. We have a lot of students and a lot of teachers that's with COVID. So what we do, we just ignore it and just let the state say that, you know what, too bad, suck it up. And then we have kids that may die. I can't have kids dying, I'm sorry, not on my watch. I feel real bad when teachers go call out with COVID. I understand that we're short of staff. I'm really upset about that too. We don't even have a contract. We need to pay these teachers. We need to do what's right for the teachers and the students, and I think what we're doing is not working. That's why I want to support what Mr. Mourinho just said.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons. I have some questions, statements, have questions, have statements. And one of those is, I know that I no longer get responses from Commissioner Elderbut and his office. And I'm wondering if that's happened to anyone else. But I'm also wondering, Dr. McKinney, how your communication with Commissioner Elderbut has been regarding this, because the last information that I had was that he was not interested in allowing Nashua to go remote in any shape or form, unless it was like a classroom or potentially a school, if all the parents also agreed.
While I'm not at liberty to share the content of all my conversations with the Department of Education and the Commissioner, I could just tell you the rules of the road, which I've shared with the board on a number of occasions. We're obligated to provide in-person instruction for all students all the time. So those are one of the rules. If we want to offer distance ed to parents, we certainly can. The district doesn't have to apply. Parents can request it. If the student's not doing well, we can terminate distance ed, but of course they have the right to appeal to the State Board of Education. I would just caution the board with making changes at this time, because any change you make has to be changed in our reopening plan. I've already had conversations with the union when that plan was put together, and the plan says no synchronous learning and no remote learning. So you're already hearing from a tired faculty who's asking to get by every day, and not adding more work to the plate is not something I would recommend right now. If you'd like us to use some of the financial resources and purchase a platform for kids to go on, we can certainly look into that. But again, as I've told the board, if you have a class and X number of students are going to go remote, X number of students have to have access to in-person learning. So if the parents say, I want to be back, we're going to be moving those kids to other classes, redesigning their schedules, redesigning things in the student information system. So while I apologize that these are the rules of the road, these is what have been passed by the State Board of Education, and they're continuing to revise the rules right now. They're no longer the blizzard bag rules, it's called distance ed, and they have another meeting in January where I anticipate further changes to be made by the State Board of Ed, which govern the state of New Hampshire. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Guarino, and then Ms. Seem.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not sure, I know, I'm not blaming anyone, I'm not blaming administration, but I'm not sure that our parents are fully aware of the rules of the road. They keep changing, as Dr. McKinney said, they're gonna change them again. But I would like this district to communicate those rules to students, to parents, so that they know that they could at least apply for remote if they want it. They may not even know that it's available, that they could even try to get it for their child, you know. So I know the rules are changing all the time, but I think we have to make an effort to make sure that our parents are well aware of what their options are.
Dr. McKinney, you were making a head motion.
Yes, I'm happy to communicate that to families. They can request it, but the answer is there's no remote instruction at this time. If they would like to unenroll from the district, they can go into VLAX, and if they're out of school, there are School World and other tutoring services that are virtual. United Way has a great program to support kids when they're out of school, but the district stance right now is there's no remote learning available.
Thank you, Dr. McKinney.
Ms. Seem?
I would just like to add that earlier, one of the, I don't know who it was, I apologize for that, someone said that they were, I think it was Adam, that they were recommending that we have a time where we have a committee where we come together and discuss what our options are, what are some of the things that we might be able to do to relieve some of the pressure that we're all feeling. Please know this board feels it. I feel it. I go home sick over this stuff. So I thought it was a great suggestion, and maybe that's what we need to do. We need to sit down in whatever configuration you folks think is best. And I like Mrs. Oden. I think this superintendent's council that Dr. McKinney is going to have will be another opportunity for us to communicate better with each other, because truthfully, communication is the key to everything. We're not going to improve it by sweeping it under the rug. We need to discuss it, thrash it out, hear everybody's. We need to analyze it, vet it. We need to, and you guys are good at that, and that was why I suggested going back to the strategic plan, because I believe that in that kind of exchange of ideas where we're content heavy, we can only get stronger. And so that's what I'd like to see happen. And I applaud you. I think the suggestions tonight were wonderful. And that only convinced me more that we need to hear more from you guys about these kinds of things, because when you're in the classroom, when you're doing the job, you're the closest to it. So naturally, you're going to have a better understanding, a better comprehension of what are the things that we can do. And I applaud you all for it. Believe it or not, we truthfully, I think this board truly appreciates the district and the gifts that you bring. We never agree 100% with anybody on anything. I don't anyway, but I have great respect for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seem. Okay, I don't see any other hands, so why don't we go ahead and do a roll call on Mr. Guarino's motion.
Ms. Bishop votes no. Ms. Raymond?
No.
Ms. Oden?
No.
Ms. Brown?
No.
Ms. Johnson?
No. Oh, I think that was a no.
Yeah.
No.
Can you put the microphone closer to the speaker? Perhaps Mr. Dunn could help.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Seem?
No.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion does not pass.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on with the board response to the superintendent's comments. I just want to echo the congratulations to Ms. Bagley. I'm very pleased to have the superintendent cabinet reestablished. Tonight, there were a number of really interesting suggestions that I hadn't heard before. And I like the idea of having that come directly to your ears, Dr. McKinney, where it can be acted upon without layers in between. And then regarding the COVID situation, I'm really pleased to hear about the testing coming out. I was just talking to my sister-in-law yesterday, and her school in Massachusetts has a test to participate. Like, you have to get a test every week. Every student, every staff member takes a test to make sure that they don't have COVID so that they can participate in school. And I don't know that that would fly in New Hampshire, but I do appreciate that we finally have the resources from the state to get going with the testing program for those students and teachers who would like to get tested, because if I were in the classroom, I would want to get tested frequently. I'm probably be one of the main users of those tests. The other question that I have is whether or not the state or the local public health has been able to acquire sufficient doses of the vaccine for us to offer some more vaccine clinics. They've been, especially the ones for children that we offer here, have been pretty well attended. And so I would love to see us continue with that. So.
Could I share one other thing, not regarding that? Just to.
Sure.
Today at our COVID meeting, one of the public health nurses and Bobby Bagley joined our call to talk about some enhanced things to happen over the next month. So while I can't speak to all those, they were on the call and are working with the state in regards to testing and screening. The answer to your question regarding vaccines, there is a clinic coming up early January at North. Details haven't been finalized yet, but the state is to have one again, and Bobby reached out to secure the space at North in early January.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you know if that will be for just children or for adults as well? Because I know everybody needs a booster at this point.
I don't know all the details. We were just trying to secure the location. They had another venue booked, but the state wanted a larger venue, so they asked us to host it at North.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right, so I'll look forward to those details as they come. And I appreciate that. Those are my questions. Ms. Bishop?
I also want to reiterate congratulations to Ms. Bagley, well-deserved award. Very happy that it's in our district and with one of our fantastic directors. So congratulations, Ms. Bagley. Also, I'm excited for the in-school testing for staff and students. I feel like we're probably going to see a decrease in absences while people are waiting for their COVID tests to come back, which hopefully will make everybody feel a little bit better in the high schools and the middle schools, and the kids can get out of the auditoriums and back into classes. So I hope people utilize this. Is it the 15-minute test? So 15 minutes and then back in the classroom. Awesome. Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Ms. Timmons?
Oh, yes, I'm kind of glad we're moving toward some type of COVID testing and hopefully tracing, and hopefully letters out to families not 3 or 4 days later after the child been in school, say, oh, you know, there's a cluster of COVID in classes, but give us a date. Like if they came positive with the testing, you probably can do so more eloquently by having testing on that particular day, warning the parents that there was COVID in the classes earlier than later. So about time the parents might find out that child might have been in class for several days. So I like the fact that it's going to be testing. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Ms. Ziem?
No, I have nothing else to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the student member of the board comments. Mr. Dunn?
I wanted to open up with saying thank you. Thank you to all you teachers here today. I look at many of my teachers that I've seen or that I saw now that I haven't seen in years. And here at Nashua, I am very thankful for how these teachers have treated me over the years and how they've really formed my education. And I know that it doesn't seem like that. And this year especially, I was talking to some peers of mine today, and we were very frustrated with how this year is going. I have firsthand experience. Walk down the hallway, you see a fight. These are things that have been very normalized this year, and it's not okay. But I know that although times are tough right now, I just want to say that thank you for really contributing to our students. And like the saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We see these bad things are happening, these fights, the blatant disrespect, but there are also students that are here that really want to learn. And there are students that and your jobs and you as teachers have really formed us to be the students that we are today, and I'm very thankful for that. And I know I'm speaking for many of my peers that we are thankful for what you do, and I hope these negotiations see that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn. Ms. Brunel?
Hello, teachers of Nashua. I would also like to sympathize with the fact that this year has been, let's just say, less than ideal. The acting out, the fighting, the vandalism, it's all a little bit much, especially after coming off of school from a year of remote learning. But I'd like to speak to an experience that I had during COVID and during a time of uncertainty and confusion. One of my teachers, my French teacher, Madame Wing, she took 1 hour out of her day every Friday during COVID to speak with me in French. And that extra dedication that she put in and that extra hour really helped me. And I came to class knowing oh wow, I'm really excited and I wonder what's gonna happen in class. And before my junior year, high school was just about grades for me, and it was just about earning the top grades or getting those A's. But after really connecting with my teachers, I realized that school isn't all about the grades, and teachers really make students' experiences, and it's those little moments that really change a student for the better. So I'd just like to thank all the teachers in Nashua for your dedication to the students, because we do really appreciate it, even in a time of uncertainty. So thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, we don't have budget yet, but we will in 2 short months. Committee on Finance and Operation. Ms. Johnson called me earlier today and let me know that her voice is not where it needs to be to talk about all of the items on Committee on Finance and Operations. Ms. Oden, do you feel equipped to go through the list, or would you like me to read them?
I think the other member of finance is here and might be taking it over, so maybe she would like to practice.
Oh, and she has a larger screen.
Okay. Yeah, she does.
Go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Okay, so yeah, we met on December 13th and had a quick and tidy meeting. The first thing we'd like to recommend, I move to approve the fiscal year 23 annual deferred maintenance and capital improvement plan.
Second.
Okay, so the motion was made by Ms. Brown and seconded by Ms. Oden. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, if you could please call the roll, Ms. Bishop?
Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Next, I'd like to move to approve the purchase of a 2020 Caterpillar 420 XE loader backhoe in the amount of $123,000 $1,900, which includes the trade-in value of our 2005 New Holland backhoe. Funding will come from the City Capital Equipment Reserve Fund.
Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions regarding the purchase of the backhoe? Okay, seeing none, if you could please call the roll.
Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Finally, I move to approve the fiscal year 22 November transfer report as presented at the 12/13/21 Finance and Operations meeting.
Second.
Okay, it was seconded by Ms. Oden. Does anyone have any questions about the transfer report? All right, I don't see any, so go ahead, Ms. Bishop.
Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I see for finance.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so next is Committee on Policy. Ms. Bishop?
We met on December 14th, 2021. We have a couple policies to bring forward to you all. The first one is I'm moving to rescind policy 12210, long-range capital improvements planning.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Ziem. Any questions or comments on that? Okay.
Okay, on the motion to rescind, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Sorry, I
Yes.
go to say Ms. Gilio and then she's not here. Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, so this next policy, I actually got a lot of feedback after our meeting. What I got in emails, I just wanted to share this with the board. What I got in emails is there's really not an appetite for this motion to come forward in regards to getting the two sides together to talk about policies in regards to strategic plan. I believe Ms. Ziem's purpose was to include the teachers and have them be a part of this, but Ms. Ziem, did you want to speak to it?
I would just quickly like to say that the reason I voted the way I did was because at one of the meetings where we had public input from teachers, the no-fail policy was discussed. I, again, don't remember the teacher's name, but she was quite eloquent, and her message reached home to me. And so what I was trying to say is that we need to discuss these things with you folks before we go changing everything, because you're on the ground, you see the need, you are the expertise that we need to make good decisions, in my view. So, but if the timing of my motion is not good, I have no problem with removing it from the agenda.
Would you like to table it and bring it back up later? Or do we want to bring it to vote and then maybe come up with something that more concisely involves?
Well, tabling is probably the best thing, in that ultimately I would like to see the no-fail policy vetted. It's always been a heart concern of mine because I see it as hurting our students. But and she was quite eloquent. She broke my heart, but anyway, to think that's a hard thing to teach. But anyway, so yes, what she's saying is fine.
Might I suggest simply withdrawing it back to policy?
Okay, whatever you want to do.
Because if you table it, it would just come back to this board meeting, and it makes more sense to me that if.
So please send it back. I make a motion that we send it back to policy or whatever you want. It's not a motion, so I'm.
Just withdrawal.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to do it.
So you would simply say, I wish to withdraw this.
I will withdraw this motion. Thank you.
Okay. So That is withdrawn to the policy committee.
Mr. Guarino.
Mr. Guarino?
Yeah, I'm sorry to belabor this, but I was at the committee meeting, and I understood that this was about, also about behavior issues, not just grades, but we had discussed, in fact, that what we had discussed at our committee was, at the committee level, was the implementation of the strategic plan. And the strategic plan had a number of task forces, and for example, one on behavior, and that included, the one on behavior, for example, was a task force that was supposed to include building administrators, which is principals, representation of teachers, school counselors, behavioral specialists, and ELL. So that was my understanding of the origin of this motion. But I have no problems with sending it back to committee and discussing it in committee. The only thing I want to say is that I would hope that people read the strategic plan, it's online, and that we implement the strategic plan, and that means putting together these task forces to talk about behavior, to talk about a number of issues. The other issue about that Ms. Ziem had mentioned there too. So that's the reason why I'm speaking up, that we implement our strategic plan and get these task forces together.
May I just, and you are right, Mr. Guarino, it certainly wasn't just the no-fail policy, it was the discipline issue that we have experienced in this pandemic nightmare that we've been experiencing. But there was also information that we were given at a separate meeting, and I don't think you were there, that had I known that at the time, I would not have pushed for this timing. It's only the timing. I'm just as committed as I was that night to the discipline problem and to vetting the no-fail issue. Those were the two that popped out to me. But if there are other issues that we need to vet, then we want to hear. We want you to tell us. I'm listening, and I believe this board is listening. So please feel free to let us know. Thank you.
Thank you both. And I think that the strategic plan is very important, and it has been kind of on hold due to COVID. I think the behavioral task force and the SEL task force would be helpful right now, but I just can't see asking our teachers to take on something else. I think they might break. So let's see if the superintendent's cabinet can get some of that information. Like I said, we had some good suggestions tonight, and if we can get out of a sink or swim situation, then I think we move forward with that. All right, so that motion is withdrawn, and we'll just move to the next one.
Okay. The next motion, I move to rescind policy 3442 in regards to directory information.
Second.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay, you can call the roll then.
Okay, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
No.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That's a no. That was a
no?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, Paula, I hope you feel better soon.
Me too.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes. The next policy, I make a motion to rescind policy 8210, employee work schedules and benefits.
Oh, second.
Okay. Any discussion on that one? No, I just want to say that this policy is contained within the current teacher's contract and will be in when we approve the next one.
Yes. Okay, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Gilio, sorry, I really want her to be here. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, the next one, make a motion to approve policy JICK, pupil safety and violence prevention bullying as amended.
I'll second. Any questions or comments? Nope, okay.
On the motion to approve policy JICK, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes. The next policy, I make a motion to approve policy EBCF-A, temporary policy on leave due to coronavirus disease COVID-19.
Second.
Okay. Seconded by Ms. Ziem. Comments or questions? Okay, I see Ms. Brown and then, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Brown, Ms. Oden, Ms. Ziem.
Well, they're probably covered.
I move to amend the motion to end on June 30th, 2022, or amend the policy since it's temporary.
Okay.
I'm not sure what.
So, wait, I'm sorry, June 22nd?
No, I'm sorry. June 30th, 2020, the end of the school there, the last day of school.
June 30, 2022.
I'm not sure what there's.
Okay.
Can you clarify for us what's happening?
So he wants an end date for the temporary policy.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll second that for the purpose of discussion.
What does administration think of that? Does that actually make things easier than bringing it back in?
Thank you, that's what I wanted to know.
To end at the June 30th.
That would be fine.
Okay.
And if we need to end it sooner because we no longer need it, we can bring it back in?
Or vice versa.
Okay.
I don't have copies of anything anymore because we're paper short, so I don't get copies. But anyway, is this the one that one of the teachers was concerned about?
Yep.
So I would just like to ask why it wasn't, if there was a reason. I don't want to challenge it. I'm just want to understand why it.
It isn't retroactive?
Well, why, what difference it makes? If it seems to me her argument was well said, I think, but there might have been things that we don't know that could alter the cases, such as in the one we just amended. So I just would like to ask administration if there is a reason that, what was the thinking that they weren't included? Or was there thinking, was it just an oversight?
Okay. Well, if I could just tell you a little bit about this policy.
Is your mic on?
It is on.
Okay, just move it closer.
Okay. A little bit about this policy. The Board of Aldermen approved this for the city in November. So this is a policy that's similar to what the city implemented, and the purpose of the policy was to encourage vaccinations. Their policy, because it went into effect in November, they started it as of October 26th. So you need a start date of the policy. So that's why, if you do want to go retroactive, how far back retroactive do you want to go? And that's the reason why the language was as it is in there, that it doesn't include retroactive COVID. It is as of the effective date of the policy, which again, the city used October 26th, and the Board of Aldermen approved it on November 9th.
Wasn't she saying, though, that she thought it would be best if anybody who had COVID, who had had COVID at any time would be covered, that it would go back as far as COVID?
Well, it probably, because it encourages vaccination, it would probably go back to when it was available to everybody to get.
To when the vaccinations were.
However, I wonder if there's an issue with getting medical documentation to show that somebody had active COVID at the time that they were out. I don't know if we were collecting that information back then.
Yeah.
Or if we, and I believe that we were allowing, there was extra time, people could take extra time off if they had been exposed or had, I'm getting my work mixed up with this one because we had a policy like that. We don't anymore, but didn't we have an old?
No, well, it was federal, the Families First Coronavirus Response Act in 2020, which gave, it allowed up to 80 hours of sick time that wouldn't be charged to your bank at that time, and that ended in December.
And we extended it until the end of June.
Okay. Before my time. So so again, this policy here is similar to what the city has implemented with their start date of implementing this on October 26th. And it was approved in November, and we're just putting this forward now. So what date do you want to start the policy at would be the question. And that was the reason why the language is in there, that it's not going to go back prior to the effective date of the policy.
Yeah.
So then do we need to change, if I'm hearing it, we're only changing the date. We're not changing the fact that if you've had COVID before.
So what we would be doing is changing the date that it started on. So Ms. Brown has asked to have an end date on it. We're coming up with a start date that isn't today. But I would want our administration to look at if we have the financing for that before we sign them up for something. Or would we just be refilling somebody's sick bank?
And can I just, you know, I want to say this, and I don't want this to be misconstrued, because I have great respect, truly I do. If I could do anything to help you, I would. Having said that, we can't spend money we don't have. When we give you more money, they don't give us more. So we have to take it from somewhere else is what ends up happening. And I'm not crying poor mouth. I am crying poor mouth. I'm just telling you it's a very frustrating position to be in. It's like when you're at home and you got to pay the heat bill, but you don't have enough money in the bank to pay it. And it's just frustrating. It frustrates me to death, to the point where tonight I said maybe I should just quit the board because I'm becoming too frustrated to be effective. That's truthfully where I am right now. So, sorry.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Ms. Seam. We like you here. I think in regards to tonight, though, administration has put forth what they believe is a necessary policy and a good policy, and I see no harm in accepting it as it is tonight.
So will we go back at some point in time and review this?
I mean, we can ask them to come back with the number, see how many people were out who were vaccinated with COVID, but we're not I mean, there's a certain amount of information that probably isn't available to us at this point about vaccination status, about COVID status.
If you do that, I would be satisfied.
So if we start it tonight, maybe if we have some wiggle room in the replacing sick time, they can bring it back to us. Okay. But right now, we can accept the policy as it's been presented.
Okay. Hold on. Ms. Oden had her hand up before, but that was prior to Ms. Brown's amendment. Does anyone else want to comment on the amendment proposal? Mr. Guarino.
Thank you. I agree with Ms. Bishop that the way it's presented, I think we should pass it in that way. I don't think we should put an end date on it because we don't know what COVID's going to do to us. And as next year, you know, we can also get administration to report on finances then. If we want to put an end date on it then we can do it then. But it didn't come to us with an end date, so I don't think we should put an end date on it. I'm not going to vote for the amendment to limit it to June 30th.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. McKinney wanted to speak to that.
Just in summary, city HR and district HR work together to develop this. This is already a policy that's in city departments here. It's pretty simple. It's encouraging vaccination, and if somebody gets COVID, you're not docked your sick time. It literally says at the bottom, this policy is temporary. You reserve the right to terminate this policy at any time. So you don't really need an end date. So we shouldn't really be in this position of changing work that came out of subcommittee. It's either going to happen or send it back to committee or vote it down. Mm-hmm. But we're trying to promote a safe working environment and not have people lose time. So I'd ask the board to consider all that information and make a decision in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Who seconded Ms. Brown's amendment?
I did for discussion purposes. All right. So
So will we be getting that information then in the future, or are we saying this is just going to go on?
I say let's just go on.
Okay, so on Ms. Brown's amendment proposal, can we, okay, Ms. Oden?
So there will not be anything retroactive for those people that already had a vaccination and maybe got COVID?
We don't have those numbers yet, and we don't have enough data.
But I do think we should get the information.
We can look into it, but for tonight, we can vote on this, and then we can ask them if there's a possibility.
And that's what I'm asking, that it be left as a request, that administration bring us that statistics if possible, you know.
All right, so let us,
Thank you, Mrs. Oden.
yes, so let us, it sounds like the will of the board here, the consensus is that we'd like to hear if there is a situation where people have proof of their COVID vaccination and proof of their COVID test positive and their time off. And then they would have to bring that to HR, I guess. And then let's see. If we need to do retro, we can always bring it back, but I would hate to delay it tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there might be people right now who need it.
Okay, thank you.
Is that acceptable to the board, or does anyone have any?
Going to go back to policy, I think.
Oh,
Not
okay, I'm
HR.
confused.
It was policy.
Ms. Oden?
I have a question. I don't remember, but could there have been teachers or any staff member that got COVID before the vaccine was even available?
Yes, but I would say that the EFMLA provision was still in effect then, because the vaccine came out and we had vaccine clinics starting in April. We offered a EFMLA, we extended it for our staff through the end of June.
2020.
2021, yeah. So
last 2 years, or like it's 2018 still, right?
Right, so at that point, there was sufficient coverage and availability.
Federal dollars are paying.
Federal dollars.
But did they have to use their sick days?
I have no idea.
No. Okay, thank you.
So, okay. On Ms. Brown's motion, amendment to the motion to have an end date on the policy, can we call the roll?
Yep. I guess administration is saying we don't need it. So Ms. Bishop votes no. Ms. Raymond?
No.
Ms. Oden?
No.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
No.
Ms. Ziem?
No.
Ms. Timmons? No. Okay, motion fails 6-2.
Okay, so now we're back on the original policy as it was sent to us from the policy committee. Did anyone have any other comments or questions on the original policy as it was sent to us from the policy committee? Ms. Brown.
Thank you. So I'm not going to support this policy tonight, and I don't think it's about being pro-vaccination or anti-vaccination or anything like that. I find this to be a coercive invasion of privacy for teachers who don't wish to share their vaccination status. I think this policy opens the door for other rewards or punishments based on other individual decisions, and there's no provision for either religious medical exemptions or for those who have already had COVID should they contract it again. And I think that there could be space for grievances and discrimination complaints. And finally, because there's no end date, I don't think that this is a temporary policy. It tacitly makes it permanent, so I will not be supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Brown. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, let's do roll call on the policy.
Okay, on the motion to approve policy EBCF-A, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
No.
Ms. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Ziem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2.
Okay. Okay, anything else for us, Ms. Bishop?
No.
Okay. Committee on Curriculum and Evaluation, Ms. Brown.
All right. We met on December 13th also with the, just before the Finance Committee, and we have one recommendation coming out of that committee. The recommendation is I move to approve the Nashua High School Program of Studies for the 2022-23 school year as presented.
I'll second it. Okay. Any comments or questions on the high school program of studies for next year? Ms. Oden?
Quickly, I want to say our teachers did a great job presenting the changes and why they're happening. I think the biggest one that I left a question in my mind why they were changing, oh God, the name of one of the courses. They were just taking the two words and changing them, and the second word was going to be the first, and it had to do with colleges accepting that for, good Lord, was it scholarship or something? It was so minor that it was just unbelievable. But the teachers themselves, the head teachers, did a great job explaining the changes that they're making for the benefit of our students.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Oden. I wasn't able to attend that one, but I did watch it, and I was really impressed by the expansion of some of our classes, especially in STEM. So I always like to see that, and thank you to everybody who is continuing to ensure that our students are competitive. So any other questions, comments? No? Could you please call the roll?
On the motion to approve the National High School Program of Studies for the 22-23 school year, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Seem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Okay. Committee on Human Resources, Ms. Seem?
We had an HR meeting tonight, and so we need to make a motion to waive the rules so that we might bring tonight's motions forward.
Okay. I'm sorry, Ms. Oden, you seconded? Okay. Can you call the roll on that?
On the motion to waive the rules, Ms. Bishop votes yes. Ms. Raymond?
Yes.
Ms. Oden?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes, but can I just say one thing here, please?
Yeah.
My phone, I don't know if you're hearing me beeping, but I've got to jump off because I can't keep my head up any longer. I do apologize to everybody, but I've been really sick with a bad sinus infection, and I think my time has just kind of given up on me right now.
Okay.
So I need to bow out of this, and I just want to say to everybody, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I do apologize for being so sick, but I kind of held in as long as I could this evening.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ms. Johnson, and I apologize for not hearing the.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Feel better.
Mr. Guarino?
Yes.
Ms. Seem?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Guarino, do you know how to hang it up?
So the board would like, okay.
These are those old-fashioned phones.
Brain work. Brain work. The committee recommends, would like to make a motion that we approve the personnel recommendations dated Monday, December 20.
Second.
Okay. We no longer have anybody participating electronically, so we are able to forego roll call and do it by the ayes and the nays. So all those in favor of approving the personnel recommendations, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
And the committee recommends that we approve the job description for the data analysis. If anybody has any questions or concerns, they can address them to our wonderful HR director, Mrs. Gary.
Second.
Can I make with
Oh,
one
yes,
amendment?
Okay.
We have a double entry on that, so we're going to scratch out
Yes, thank you, I forgot.
bullet number 11.
Okay.
It's the same as bullet number 6.
Yeah. It was,
As amended?
As
it was
amended.
just an oversight, I'm sorry. That was my oversight, too.
So, I'm sorry, who seconded that? I didn't write it down.
I did.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oden. All right, so all those in favor of approving the data analyst job description as amended, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes 7-0. Are there any liaison reports? No, the JSSBC met.
I had one last thing. We had a motion, right? Didn't we make a motion?
Oh, did I miss one? I'm so sorry.
Made a motion, didn't we?
Yes.
I just wanted to share with the board that, yeah, that we made a motion to, my brain now has gone to South Carolina. The motion was to,
That's right.
Who wrote it down?
Yeah, I think I've written it in the book.
Oh. HR Committee Weekly Report on how many teachers are out of classes per school and per week.
Okay. So is that going to the HR committee or to just everyone? What's the plan?
You wanted to go to the HR committee.
It passed the HR committee
it
tonight.
passed the HR committee. We're asking for the board to, we're asking.
But is the weekly report going to the HR committee or to here?
Oh.
I would, I think it's coming to HR, but I would certainly think that we would forward it to you folks as well, because it's obviously informational for the board, hoping that the better informed we are, the better decisions we will make, the more helpful we will be to our wonderful staff.
All right, so do we want to, usually that type of motion is just forwarded to the board. Do we want to vote on that here at the board level as well? To have a weekly report on?
Well, we don't, as a committee, I don't think we have the power to ask Dr. McKinney. It has to be a full board vote, right? Is that what you're asking me?
Yes, I'm asking if you're making the motion now as well.
Yes, the motion was made and passed by the 3 committee members.
Right, and she's bringing it to the full board now.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion is to have a weekly report on I didn't write it down properly.
I haven't either.
Weekly report on the number of teachers.
How many teachers are out of classes?
Okay, per school, per week.
And I think it was supposed to have a clause to include.
It does.
I'm sorry?
It does.
There was another clause to include.
Combined classes.
So combined classes, thank you.
Okay, and.
That's crossed out on here.
No, I mean, I was just doing.
And, okay, a weekly report on the number of absences of teachers per school, per week, and the number of combined classes. Okay.
It was just informational, but we felt that it would be helpful for the board to know.
Okay.
Do you want a time limit on this?
Until we say we don't want it anymore?
I don't think so, because they're overwhelmed, so everybody's overwhelmed. Administration is also overwhelmed, truthfully, so I trust that Dr. McKinney will do the best he can to get it as expeditiously as he can under the circumstances which he is challenged every day.
And who is seconding this at the full board
I second it.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Timmons. Ms. Oden, did you have a question? No. I have a question, and that is, will this report be able to provide us with an idea of how many kids are being combined, like, for example, in an auditorium setting or in the gym, like how many classes of kids? Because I knew that the auditoriums were utilized. I didn't realize how many students were in there. And I had no idea that kids were being sent to the gym at the middle school level. And so I find that very concerning, both from a COVID perspective and an education perspective. And so I'm interested in learning, having a little bit more data on that going forward. And then also, as we start to implement.
In-school testing.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, sorry, what? Go ahead.
Actually, that's not what I was going for, but that too, in-school testing too. As we start to implement some ideas for relieving the pressure, how that improves or doesn't improve. Not my ideas, the ideas that were said today and that you guys come up with.
So the system, the frontline absence system can give us attendance on staff.
Okay.
And that you can run a report in real time. So the part around combining classes is going to take something that's not something we track. So we can put something in place and working with the principals when that happens and include that in the report going forward. But it may not be available in January because we're going to have to go back in time and try to give a ballpark idea. So we'll work with the principals. In real time, we can run a report and do attendance very quickly, but the second piece is just going to take us a little bit of time.
But we're not asking for it in.
No, not in retrospect.
Or we just want going forward. Well, I
Going
mean,
forward, no
I'm
problem.
glad you clarified that. That would have been almost,
Because, I mean,
But I think in summary, we should give a picture of what the last, it may not be soup to nuts exactly, but we will provide a picture of what coverage has been like.
Okay, because to me, it's really the information that I'm looking for is to have a better understanding when I harass the Department of Education about what snapshots of our experience here is like. You know, I'm going to take the information we learned here and use that to send an annoying several emails to Commissioner of Education, but then also ongoing. I want to know how it's improving or not improving, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know where to get help from, but that's the idea, to use this in a way that I could try and figure out a way to help, or, right, Ms. Thiem?
Yeah, yes, I believe he probably has an idea of what we're trying to get now. I think we've, because he, in our meeting, I'm afraid we elaborated quite a bit on it too, so.
I'm sorry I came in late.
Yes, and we're all tired.
So, and I missed the beginning of your meeting.
No.
Ms. Brown, did you have your hand up? I thought I saw a hand over there. I don't know why. Okay. Anybody else? No? All right. All those in favor of passing the motion on reports on absences, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. 7-0. Now.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Apologies, Ms. Seaman. Thank you. Liaison reports. I know the JSSBC met at the end of last week. There isn't a whole lot to report from that meeting. There's really just not a lot to report from that meeting. On track.
Doing well.
Getting some contracts.
Summary.
Getting some bids lined up for the new middle school so that we can break ground.
June 2022.
Yes.
And paying some bills.
Paying some bills and, you know, focusing on making sure that the Pinachuk project is as least disruptive as possible. And just a note to keep letting the principals know if there are disruptions so that it can get to us so that we can take it up with the construction managers. Okay, unfinished business. Are we good to just keep going, or does anyone need a recess?
I have to run out for a minute.
Okay.
Let's keep
Take a
going.
recess?
And you can keep
We can just keep going. Okay, we're going to plow through. Unfinished business, district goals update. Dr. McKinney included in our packet another update of the district goals. And did you wish to go over that? Are you planning to use the big thing? I'm sorry.
Projector.
I'm sorry. As everyone knows, I've been having some issues with aphasia related to a small stroke I had around Thanksgiving. So I'm fine, but that's why I missed a meeting for the first time in 3 years, because I'm dealing with some things. but the word is projector screen. It came to me. Would you like to use the projector screen? Should I move?
I'm happy to do a low-tech version, or if you like the high-tech version, I can do that as well. It's the choice of the board. I can just go through the.
Bird says low-tech.
Low-tech, okay.
I have a motion to go low-tech.
Fine, I have it, I printed it, so. Floor is yours, yeah.
Four goals going into this year were around student achievement, SEL learning for all, family engagement, and health and safety. So the first slide speaks to some of the work we've done on student achievement. I'm not going to speak to all the things on there, but just highlight a couple of things. First, our ELL department did a great job this last December early release, putting together PD based on the DOJ agreement. Thank you to Dr. Sarfty and Mr. Chopa for coordinating that. We received some positive feedback, and they're great advocates for our students. Two other things that we have going on. There are over 50 teachers that are getting Wilson PD, and that's high-quality PD around reading intervention, both at the elementary and the high school level, elementary and middle school level, to help our students who are struggling. And the other thing we do have going on to help our high school students is Saturday school SAT prep. Many thanks to the high school teachers who've stepped up to do some of that work along with our high school administration. The second goal, SEL for all. I don't think any of us anticipated what we were going to see in terms of the level of need of students and the trauma, but we have a number of things put into place, from a resource with Mount Prospect Academy that the board approved, the Be Great program at the high school. We're looking into a new partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, where students who are out of school can go and get breakfast, lunch, academic support, mental health counseling. That's never done before, so we're hoping that's going to make a difference for kids that are struggling. And also for our younger kids, thank you to the YMCA of Greater Nashua, who are doing the Superhero Academy, a nice SEL program for our young ones. We've been reaching out to families and engaging them over the course of this year. We've increased our FTEs for our outreach workers and family engagement liaisons at the elementary level. We've held some monthly events, and we're trying to constantly improve our communications so that, per the DOJ, we're reporting out in Spanish, Portuguese, and Swahili. Definitely struggling with Swahili translation, so I don't know if anybody knows anybody. We could certainly use the help. And goal 4, we've made a number of enhancements to the health and safety in terms of updating HVAC systems, MERV 13 air filters, adding air purifiers, and improving heating and cooling when possible. We spoke about the point of care testing and the SAS testing in terms of safer at school screening and expanding that across the district. In summary, the next steps are really around, I think job 1 is working to get an agreement with the Nashua Teachers Union, reestablishing the superintendent's cabinet and opening lines of communication. Mr. Donovan and HR are working on signing bonuses using ESSER funds to address staffing. We're looking into increasing the nursing rates so we can hire more nurses to fill in because they're stretched thin. We're hiring a staffing and management organization to help recruit people. That's also not been done before. Traditionally, schools are passive. We wait for people to come to us and apply for positions, but this agency has success in districts our size and going out and recruiting and actively hiring people. So we're going to be presenting that information in January. And also in January, we're going to be looking at attendance, behavior, achievement at the school and district levels. So in summary, I just want to thank everybody in the district. I know it's been an extremely trying time. I'm tired as well, but I would like to say that we've done a fairly good job. This is nothing that I don't hear at the South Central meetings with superintendents, at statewide meetings with superintendents, even at the national level when I speak to people on conference calls. being short-staffed, student behavior are all themes that I hear on a regular basis. So I apologize we don't have all the answers, but we work tirelessly trying to find new solutions. And like I said, some of this hasn't been done before. So thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Next item on the agenda is new business, and that is the NASIS collective bargaining agreement that was in our confidential section of our packets. Do we need a non-public session to discuss that before we take a vote? Does anyone want to request non-public? All right, I'm seeing no requests for a non-public on the NASIS contract. In that case, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the NASIS collective bargaining agreement dated July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, so I made the motion. Ms. Oden seconded it. Okay, questions, comments that we can have publicly? No? All right. All in favor of approving the collective bargaining agreement with the NASIS unit, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. So the contract is approved unanimously, 7-0. So congratulations all. Thank you for staying with us. Who? Oh, yeah, they have to get up really early. NASIS. Individuals. No, she's right there. Yay! I didn't see you, sorry.
Ms. Cunningham works the night shift, so she's not an early riser. So she's.
All right. So that brings us to our second public comments period of the evening. If Mr. Guarino, do you mind grabbing the sign-up sheet for me? Oh, wait, we're not done. Yep. If there's a large number of people, I may ask for a short, brief 5-minute break because I need to stretch my legs a little. I thought it would be now that he'd read it. Okay. Okay. So this brings us to the second public comment period. Just a reminder, people do not have to stick to the agenda on this one, but I do ask that you stick to information and topics that relate to the Nashua School District and the Board of Education, and not some other random topic as has happened in the past. So the first name on the list is Debbie O'Connor. And the second is Gary Hoffman. Did Gary try and take your spot?
Sorry, I got proposed because I signed up on that other list.
Oh, where did the missing one go? I thought there was, I thought I saw Mr. Clappy signed up on one.
No, he texted and wanted to know what you were talking about.
Oh, never mind. I don't know what I thought I saw. Apologies to all. Thank you for being patient with me.
My name is Debbie O'Connor, and I live at 3 Cantor Court in Nashua, New Hampshire. I'm a third grade teacher here in Nashua.
We can't, I'm sorry, you're not getting picked up. It is, but it's too far away from you.
Sorry about that. I'm a third grade teacher at Amherst Street School. I'm here to kind of walk you through what I've been through this year dealing with COVID. On the first day of school, I had my first COVID case. The child was in my classroom for 5 of the 6 hours of that day. She was dismissed, and she was diagnosed with COVID. So when we dismissed her, I received a stack of letters. They were handed to me. I gave them to the children. I personally wasn't told what was going on. After school, my principal pulled me aside and said, you know, she's tested positive. We just sent letters home to the parents to let them know that they have been in the same classroom as a COVID positive student. Things kind of went sideways from there. The response from the district with just being handed a letter to my parents, I thought was not enough, totally not enough. I had a parent who called to complain because his daughter, who had been in my classroom for 5 of those 6 hours that day, he was upset that she was put on a school bus and he didn't get the letter till she got home, and in the meantime, she has now possibly infected an entire school bus full of children. He then contacted the news stations, and Channel 7 News out of Boston came to Nashua, New Hampshire, and did a stand-up with my playground, our playground, in the background. He said that he was disgusted, appalled, and couldn't believe that we had sent his daughter home on a school bus. My name was then brought up to, or in a parent forum on a website, and it was determined that my classroom was the first COVID case at Amherst Street Elementary. I was pretty upset with that. Since then, we have had continued multiple cases of COVID in our schools and in our classroom. Since Thanksgiving, the cases have been growing exponentially. I currently have 3 children on COVID protocol right now. The form letter is the only response that our district uses to inform families of their children who have been exposed. One thing that is particularly disturbing for me, and this came up about 3 weeks ago, we had a staff member whose own daughter contracted COVID. She went to the office and said, you know, I'm going to go home. My daughter has COVID. They said, oh, no, you don't have to go home. She's like, what do you mean? The kids have a 10-day quarantine if they test positive for COVID, and if someone in their immediate household tests positive, then they have to be out 20 days altogether, not 20 school days, but 20 days. And they said, oh, no, you're a teacher. As long as you're wearing a mask and you're vaccinated, you can go back to the classroom and you can stay. So she has continued to come to school. I will also tell you I have a co-teacher who has most of the members in her household have COVID currently. And she comes to school every day, which is also disturbing to me. Why the double standard? Why are we letting those germs travel? We are not using COVID protocol for cleaning our schools right now. The only COVID protocol in my school today is fogging. All of the janitor rules during COVID have all gone away. We have no dividers in our cafeteria. We are not wiping down the handrails. We have not closed our drinking fountains. There was one more, but all of those things have gone away. And I've been complaining since the first day of school about COVID protocol. And I've gotten nowhere, and our cases, we're being drowned in COVID right now. And we can't take the time to clean our buildings. They are filthy dirty. I walk down the stairwells with my hands held together so I don't grab a handrail because I'm afraid. I have 2 grandchildren that I don't see some weekends because I have so much COVID in my classroom. That I take home. You don't take it home. We take that home. I can't tell you how afraid I am for Christmas vacation and affecting my grandchildren who are 2 years old and 10 months. I should not have to bear that responsibility, and you don't. And if you would like to come into my classroom into our schools and substitute in our classrooms and hold those hands of children who come to school and don't feel well, by all means, join my class. Please come. This is just one more thing on top of everything else we do. I'm worried for all of my children. I am worried for my colleagues. My paraprofessional has a brand new grandchild. She didn't see her grandchild over Thanksgiving. That shouldn't be my burden. It shouldn't be her burden. And when she sent an email to Mr. McKinney, Superintendent McKinney, he said, follow the chain of command. That is not the response that we need. We need you to be the leader of this unprecedented epidemic. These are unprecedented times, and you need to step up and lead us because we can't do it by ourselves. We are cleaning with the wipes. We are spraying Lysol. We are doing everything we can to keep these kids safe. We need help. We are crying out for help, and you need to help us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman, and then Shauna Clifton.
Sorry about that earlier, is that there are two forms there. Gary Hoffman, 38 Perham Street, Nashua, New Hampshire. First of all, Dottie, Ray, Gloria, thank you for your service. These past 2 years, I can't imagine what you've gone through, but you know, you've listened, you've worked hard, you've shown up, you've taken abuse you didn't deserve. I want to thank you for your service. I also want to thank our two student reps, Mr. Dunn, Ms. Brunel. Thank you for recognizing the teachers here. It means so much to us. Thank you, Sandra, for listening. We talk and you write things down, you bring them up. That means a lot to us. Dr. McKinney, that's what you should be doing now, listening to us. This is the second meeting. We have talked to you about working conditions, and you don't even acknowledge that we're here in your superintendent comments. You have to start taking this seriously. We're done. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Hoffman, Shauna Clifton, and then Natalie Bellhumor.
Hi, my name is Shauna Clifton, 207 Manchester Street. I'm not a district teacher. I'm a school nurse at Pennachuck Middle School. And you don't see a lot of school nurses standing before you at your meetings because we're usually too busy doing all the stuff that we can't do during the school day at night at home instead of spending time with our families. I'm a mom in Nashua. I have three children who are senior, junior, sophomore at South, who have wonderful teams there, wonderful teachers that have supported them. I'm a homeowner here in Nashua. I vote. I'm a taxpayer. And I have a bachelor's degree of science in elementary education. I used to be one of them. And I have a bachelor's of science degree in nursing, and I am driven and have always been driven to be a school employee, but also a school nurse. Because especially now since COVID, I'm seeing so much more mental health needs in our schools. And my office is a safe space. And that's not just being said from the students that use it as such, but it's the staff, it's the families. It's thank you so much for being the school nurse at Pennachuck, because what you do means something to my kids because they're scared to go to school, but they're not scared to come to you. You are their safe space. They know that all they have to do is go in your office and they're safe. And I spend so much time outside of work doing work because while I'm at work, I'm working with the students, and there is so much that a school nurse does that you don't know. Besides seeing students and documenting that time with students, besides treating mental health because there's not enough counselors in any of the schools, besides all the background immunization work and all that other stuff we do, now we have COVID on top of it. And I do want to speak to what Dr. McKinney did say about testing in schools. And I'll tell you, being able to test students in schools with the rapid antigen test is working. We are able to take symptomatic students to our office, call their families, and get them signed forms of consent and test these students. And we are being able to get COVID out quickly, and we are being able to keep students who do not have COVID in schools where they need to be. And it's working really well. And I'm hearing from Dr. McKinney that we're going to start testing staff, and I hope that happens. I would just hope that HR is involved and make sure that I'm not going to get another phone call this year about touching a staff member like I did last year for answering a COVID question to a staff member. I'm hoping that HR is going to stand behind us and make sure that we're able to do this without any repercussions for the school nurses, because we've always been told we can't touch staff. We will happily help, but we've got to have that protection from our HR in our district. And then I want to touch on something that is really important to me, and I've already touched on it. It's mental health in our students, and I'm going to talk just a tiny bit about my youngest. COVID almost killed my youngest, and I'm not talking about the disease, though they had it 3 times. I'm talking about the fact that my youngest, who was a straight A student at Fairgrounds Middle School, who only got a B in Mr. Flanagan's 3rd grade class in math because she refused to show her work, how she did her work, but was a straight A student, went into remote and almost failed her entire freshman year because they lost that structure of a classroom. And they lost that support. They lost that peer. I mean, those 8th graders out there who were freshmen that was the worst year for those students to be out of school, because it's that transition from middle school to high school. And my youngest had gender identity issues, and my youngest had all these things going on, and yet I went to work every day during COVID, to work, not home, to work. I was in the buildings, and I would go to work, and I would come home, and I would take my youngest to the emergency room with self-harm issues and suicidal issues. They tried to kill themselves several times, and they were hospitalized twice. And I would go to work every day, and I would not miss work. And I would come home at night and go to St. Joseph's Hospital and sit by my youngest side so that they were not alone. And when I see that one of the things holding up the contract negotiations this year is that you will not honor the dedication I have shown this district by showing me that you will give me a bachelor's plus 30 for the 2 bachelor's degrees I have, it's like a slap in the face. I am dedicated to Nashua School District. I live here. I wanted to live here because of my children. There's so many opportunities that we have, and the staff at every single school that I've been to, because I've been a sub-nurse in the district too, is phenomenal. I could not have made it last year without them, without my administration. But I cannot continue to be put on the very bottom tier with this district when it comes to my dedication versus your dedication in our school nurses. Please listen to us. We deserve to have a horizontal movement on that line, just like every single teacher in this district. And I don't understand why my bachelor's degree in education, as well as nursing, isn't good enough. Please, when you're looking at our contract, understand we're good enough, and we deserve that recognition in our pay too. Thank you.
Thank you. Natalie Bellhumer, and then Tom Clausen.
Hi, my name is Natalie Bellhumer, 207 Manchester Street. I am a 7-year middle school science teacher. I absolutely love it in Nashua. I love the students, I love my coworkers, and I love my admin in my school. That's probably the best part about my job, is to be so supported by everyone I have there. I can tell you that I remember the date when this whole pandemic started was March 13th, 2020, because I had to refund over 200 tickets for a school dance because I wanted to make sure that they got their $4 to go home with. Now, on top of that year, we had to plan for remote. I made teaching videos for my kids every single day so they could see me dressed up in a different outfit, made sure that I understood them, I tried to hear them, I tried to help educate other teachers on how to teach remotely at that time. After that, when we started the next school year, I took on an extra 100 kids for 3 weeks without any extra pay because that was what was best for our kids. I trained 2 long-term subs for my students. I helped with not only my hybrid classes, but with remote classes that year. This year has been full in person. Our students are really behind, but I know that they want to catch up. And my main concerns for them this year is safety with COVID. We have a lot of behavior issues, a lot of student absences, and we're focused on data, and I understand that, but we also have other bigger issues right now with our kids, and we have to give them some grace with what they're dealing with. I know that a lot of other teachers help out. So far, I'm helping out with student council. I'm the science CL. I do food drives. I do school dances. I help planning for testing because we have no technology person right now. I think we're finally hiring one, which is great. And I help out with team days. What I'm trying to say is I'm definitely putting in extra additional hours every single day because it's what's best for kids. Sub shortages, teacher turnover rates, I'm really worried. I am really worried that we're gonna have awesome teachers that are sitting behind us, leaving me behind, and I'm gonna have to do this on my own. I've already kindly taken on a lot of stuff to try to help this district, not because it's what's best for me, because it's what's best for our kids, and we need to remember that. I'm one of the most senior science teachers, and I've been here 5 years. I will be the second most senior science teacher in my district as of next year. In my school as of next year. And I've only been here 5 years. I've had 9 different administrators in 3 years in my school. I finally have 2 really good ones, so please make sure they stay because I love them a lot and they're great. But I'm really worried about turnover with staff and not having enough staff. The fact that we have not enough substitutes, I don't want to take any sick days even when I'm feeling slightly sick. Like, I just feel like I can't do stuff right now sometimes because I'm doing so much. But I don't take the sick day because it's what's best for kids. I don't want to see them put in the gym with 100 other kids. It's just not how they learn. So I understand that's a lot. I want to help fix this, but we really need to come together and support our teachers right now because we're not asking for more than what we deserve. We're asking for what we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Clausen.
Can you hear me okay? Louder? So I recognize that I am now I think it is on. Okay. I am the skunk at the picnic. I get that. I think you need to understand that the people that sit on this board agree with probably 99% of what you folks have said tonight. If money weren't an issue, do you think there's anybody on this board that wouldn't say, give the teachers everything they want? We live in a society where we pay golfers 10, 20, 30 times what a public school teacher makes. That's absurd. That's absurd. But you need to understand we're operating under budget constraints. And I don't think you understand the way these negotiations have proceeded or where we are. The last offer that we put on the table to your team was a 3.94% increase each year over 4 years. That's unprecedented for a teacher contract in Nashua. Unprecedented. And I can tell you that your negotiating team, you know what they started out asking for? 4.19%. So that's the gap that we're talking about, okay? It's not fair to say that these people don't care. It's just not fair. We will engage in mediation in good faith. And by the way, impasse was declared by the union after we made this proposal to you, okay? So we will go to mediation, and I think I heard the mayor say that he's going to fund the difference anyway, so I think we're all set. But I also want to address one other point that was raised by this gentleman earlier. The suggestion that we're trying to do something to weaken your union is absurd. Take a look at the provision that you're talking about in the contract and see what it is that we're proposing. Adam Marku is a tremendous negotiator. He is an incredible asset to the NTU. You should never let him leave the NTU or the AFT. But you know what? He shouldn't be paid by the Nashua School District. He should be paid. He should be paid.
Guys,
He should be paid.
Hey, excuse me.
No.
I said at the beginning.
Look at the provision in the contract, okay? You're absolutely right. The NTU, and through the AFT, I assume, reimburses the district for the benefits and the wages that the president earns while he's on a leave of absence, except for the retirement system piece.
Not true either.
We think that you should make whatever deal you want to with Mr. Marku or whoever your president is, and frankly, he does a fantastic job for you. All we're saying is that we don't want to be in the middle of it anymore. That's all we're saying.
We don't want to be here either. We don't want to have to fight for the basic rights.
10 times in 30 years.
We've gone to mediation, I think, all 3 years that I've negotiated the contract. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Great.
And I would absolutely agree with you that it would be wonderful if we could find a way to reach an agreement earlier on in the process. It's difficult to do that. And we're trying very hard to reach an agreement that we think is fair to you, is fair to the board, and is fair to the citizens of Nashua. And, you know, again, I realize I'm the skunk at the picnic, but that's where things stand. And I'm also a resident of Nashua. I live at 46 Parish Hill Drive. I've lived here since 1982. I have tremendous respect for all of you. My kids all went through the Nashua School District. My wife went through the Nashua School District. I think you're terrific. But we're operating under constraints that this board is trying to finagle to manage in a way that makes sense. And I hope you can understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. And that ends our second public comment period. Thank you, everybody. So that brings us to board member comments. I'm going to start on that side of the room because I started over there earlier. Ms. Ziem?
I think I've said plenty. Thank you. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Okay. Ms. Timmons?
And Dottie, I'm going to miss you so much.
Okay.
And you too, Gloria. And you too, Ray.
Thanks. It's been my honor to serve on the Board of Education for the past 4 years. It was not without challenges, but overall, I believe regardless, I have supported our children, the teachers, and the administrators. Mostly, I'm glad that I had the pleasure of serving with wonderful, fantastic student representatives. They were instrumental in my ability to stay calm and focus among all the controversial topics. They have witnessed firsthand the good, the bad, and the ugly, but remain true to their calling. This, I thank you sincerely. Your parents have done an excellent job raising you, and they should be applauded too. So thank you very much for everything that you've done. And the previous student reps and the new ones that's coming on, they're going to really be fantastic because you already know who they are. But I really appreciate you guys staying as calm as you did and supporting me indirectly, but directly too. You don't know, because by you staying calm, I was able to stay calm as well. So thank you. And thank the board members as well. And you too. I like your dimples. I'm going to miss those. There you go. Okay, and to my fellow board members, it wasn't just the first 2 years was horrible. I mean, it was undoubted the worst two, and you made it a lot better these 2 years, and thank you for that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Ms. Bishop?
Yes, I also want to thank Ms. Timmons, Ms. Oden, and Mr. Guarino for their time on the board here. This has been my first foray into any kind of public servitude, and it's been a lot of fun to sit at the tutelage of your feet. You guys have shown me how powerful a single voice can be, and how much change we can make, and how much we each can learn from our own histories and backgrounds and points of view. And I appreciate that. Gonna miss you guys. I'll keep tabs on you through Student Senate.
Be at your graduation.
And graduation will be there. So thank you guys. I think the next board is going to have a lot of fun implementing the social emotional learning. I think that's a big piece coming up. I think in regards to COVID, if we keep masking, washing our hands, getting vaccinated, it is my goal. I hope we keep the kids in school as long as we can. Spoken with several medical professionals who feel that it's on the adults' shoulders now to keep these kids in school. So we need to do what we can to ensure that they don't miss out. And I mean, you guys were the frontline safety net for us for too long. And hopefully us adults can return the favor and keep you guys in school as long as you can by practicing the proper hygiene and vaccinations. It was an intense meeting tonight, and everyone's gone now.
Feel like you're talking
Not
to
everyone,
yourself.
you are, but it went from like a bajillion to one. Statistically, you are. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff on our plates in the next couple of weeks, but it sounds like every single person in the audience and at this horseshoe is dedicated to the students, to their education and achievement, and to their overall sense of worth and well-being. So Gloria, Ray, Dottie, thank you so much, and I might call you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop. Yeah, unfortunately, everybody left, but I'm sorry, all but one. So 98% of the folks in the audience have departed because they have to get up early tomorrow and get right back to it. But I just wanted to say how much I appreciated people coming out, and the ones who had specifics about defining what exactly the problems are in their view, and then also coming up with some hypotheses about ways to mitigate some of those issues. I like science, and I like approaching things from that perspective. So I'm hopeful that we can use this as an opportunity to learn from one another about what's happening and how we can do better. I've been saying that all throughout COVID. We learned a lot of stuff from going remote, and now I think we're learning a lot of stuff from our experience trying to teach full-time during a pandemic. And it's neither fun nor easy, and so I'm appreciative of everybody being there. As far as the contract goes, I think we're all disappointed to have hit a wall. But I think that we have come a really long way. And I was appreciative of the mayor coming, although he didn't commit to giving us more money. He just committed to approving something. And so I worry about the hooks there. So I need to investigate that further because there's a difference.
He said he would help.
He did say, and so.
I don't call that a hook. I call that.
Well, we'll talk about that offline.
I'll call it a hook.
So anyways, I hope everybody has an enjoyable time away from school with their families. I hope that the increased COVID testing at school that we're finally getting is helpful as well, and I will continue to use my voice at the state level to advocate for our district. So go ahead, Mr. Guarino.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is, as you all know, my last meeting as a member of this board. And I wish you all well, everyone in this board. I wish you well. I know you're going to do, it's going to be tough in the future, but I think you're going to do well. And I hope you'll bear with me, because this is my last chance to get on the soapbox. But I do have some prepared remarks. I just want to tell the people of the city of Nashua that it's been an honor to serve. It's been an honor to serve the people as their representative on this Board of Education. And I just want to look at some of the things that we've accomplished in the last 4 years that people might not remember, but we stopped the privatization of custodian services. We saved 100 custodian jobs. We passed the next generation science standards, which updated our standards to include global warming and climate change due to air pollution from fossil fuels. We also approved the course on diversity in our curriculum, so I'm looking forward to seeing that come forward. And of course, COVID has been the big issue over the 4 years. And I think I think this board has navigated through COVID as safe as possible, and I think we did it together as a community, and everybody played their part. But I do want to mention the teachers and the staff, because I think that although they're not here, I think this city owes our teachers and staff a huge debt of gratitude. They made the best of this situation. Teachers continued to teach, and students continued to learn through the crisis, through remote learning. And I just want to repeat that again. Our teachers continued to teach, and our students continued to teach through remote learning. A lot of people think that nothing happened, but it was still happening. School was still going on. And they did that under very difficult circumstances. So looking to the future, I hope there are some things that are going to change in our state of New Hampshire. I hope that someday we have a governor who does not appoint a director of the New Hampshire Board of Education who travels around the state disparaging our public schools and encouraging parents to opt out of our public schools. I hope that someday New Hampshire has a governor who does not undermine our public schools by diverting badly needed state funds from public schools to private schools. And I just want to say that our public schools in New Hampshire are not failing our children. We, as a people in New Hampshire, are failing our public schools, and that's resulting in the abandonment and neglect of our children. Our teachers are seeing more and more students in their classes who are not getting their needs met in the home. And this is an understatement compared in the face of what we've heard from comments from our teachers tonight. So some of the things that I'm going to take with me as I leave, there was a teacher at Elm Street, I remember, who started a wellness program for her students because she saw the need for students to learn how to take care of themselves, to get better rest, better nutrition, exercise, take care of themselves emotionally. She was a science teacher over at Elm Street, and I am forever thankful for her, my daughter. Our elementary school started clothing exchange because more and more students were in need of necessary clothing. Our high school teachers noticed more students with lunch debt. They started a funding program for those students who needed lunch money. And our Nashua's Teachers Union, Nashua Union leadership presentations are phenomenal. I recommend that board members and future board members make sure that they attend the Nashua Teachers Union leadership presentations, because they will tell you what's going on in our schools. So as I said, in New Hampshire, we see at the state level an effort to undermine and dismantle our public school system. This effort to destroy public education is happening not because our public schools are failing, but because our public school teachers are successful. They're successful in delivering equal opportunity in education to all students. There are people in this state who just don't want to see that. They have a narrow constituency in Concord. They don't make laws for all of us, but they work for a narrow few. The current New Hampshire state education laws are designed as an avenue for white flight and undermine the basic tenet of Brown versus Board of Education. The school voucher law in New Hampshire is an elitist, racist law, and it encourages segregation on skin color and income. So I just want to congratulate Board President Heather Raymond. I know she's going to do great in the next 4 years. And also, I want to congratulate the 3 new individuals who are elected to this board. I have a lot of confidence in all of them, and I know that they'll do right by the people of Nashua. So there's a saying, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. I would hate to see us 10 years from now lose our public schools and wish we had them back. We have to be vigilant now and protect our community's most important asset, that is equal opportunity in education for all through the tradition of our neighborhood public schools. As I said, it's been an honor to be part of this board. I want to thank the people of Nashua for giving me this opportunity to serve, and I will continue to speak out in support of our public schools. And I want to thank all you teachers out there for what you've done for our children and what you do every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Brown.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Greeno and Gloria and Dottie. First, I want to thank all the passionate teachers, community members, and lawyers who came to share their truth tonight. I really value hearing from the public and the constituency. Thank you for using that passion to help educate our children every day, from an administrative perspective, from a classroom perspective, from a paperwork perspective. I next want to thank Gloria and Ray and Dottie for their public service. I've learned so much from the 3 of you over the last 3 years, and I just really appreciate the time that we spent together. Thank you. To close, I'm going to read a statement that was approved by the negotiation team, which I serve on with Ms. Raymond and Ms. Seam. Teams representing the Nashua Board of Education and the Nashua Teachers Union met on Friday, December 17th, 2021, to continue negotiating a collective bargaining agreement. During this negotiation session, the Board of Education proposed a new 4-year agreement with an average annual wage increase of 3.94% and a total wage increase of 15.77%. Although this contract proposal would have cost the Nashua School District and the Nashua taxpayers approximately $10,688,192 in additional wages over the next 4 years, the Board of Education felt that it was appropriate, perhaps now more than ever, given the critically important work that teachers have performed and continue to perform to benefit for the Nashua students. Unfortunately, the Nashua Teachers Union not only rejected the Board of Education's proposal, the Nashua Teachers Union declared an immediate impasse in negotiations, compelling both parties to mediation. At this time, simultaneously, the Nashua Teachers Union continues to instruct its members to work to rule. Nevertheless, the Board of Education will continue to work with the NTU in good faith and try to reach a successor agreement that is both fair and reasonable for all constituencies. Thank you, and I hope everyone has a happy holiday.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Oden.
Oh, 12 years. Finishing, I had 4 in the 90s and then the last 8. The last 2 were extremely memorable. Never, ever could imagine something as terrible as a pandemic for a school district, a country to go through. It's been challenging for everybody. I would like to congratulate Marsha Bagley. She is phenomenal. We are so lucky to have Marsha as our special ed director. She's just a fantastic person. I want to thank Mr. Dunn and Ms. Brunel. You have brought a whole lot to this board. Your surveys, when you brought those, it was just fascinating. I thank you for being creative, for caring, and for bringing, I felt like you brought the personality of your schools to the board meeting and represented your peers. So thank you so much. I want to thank Ms. Raymond. I've sat in that seat for 1 year too many in my mind. You have done an amazing job under extremely difficult circumstances. You have gone the extra mile in everything I've seen. I want to thank all of our administrators. It's been tough on you people. It has been something that your degrees do not train you for. There is nothing that has prepared you for this. I want to thank our guidance counselors, psychologists, the paraprofessionals, the custodians, the secretaries and administrative assistants, the nurses, the bus drivers, the food service workers, lunch monitors, crossing guards, Title I support workers, our coaches. The sports was a big thing for some of our kids to get back into, so I appreciate that. And I wish good luck to the next members of the board. I didn't mention teachers, and that's because I see them in a special category. I started here as a paraprofessional working in Ms. Snow's room for 1.5 years, and then I got a job, full-time teaching job, which I hadn't planned on at Amherst Street Schools. Spent 14 years there, absolutely loved it. You think this is a big district until you work in it, and it seems very small. The schools have family-like staff members, and it's something that's almost contagious. I do want to thank all of our teachers, and I want to recognize, and I want people to recognize the stress that they are under. We have a governor who appointed a man as Commissioner of Education who homeschooled his children. I spoke to the issue of the savings accounts, trying to privatize education, charter schools. And I think one of the things that bothered me most was reading about the bounty that was put on teachers' backs. And I will, if you give me 1 minute to read a report by Holly Raymer that was published on Channel 10 in Boston on the 18th of November. The 19th, it was reported by the Associated Press. Although, quote, from the newspaper, although Governor Sununu denounced a conservatives group who placed a $500 bounty on the first person to catch a public school teacher who violates the new limits on critical race theory, the State Department of Education set up a website. How convenient, how easy for people to file, to collect complaints against teachers. The New Hampshire chapter of the Moms for Liberty tweeted, "We've got $500 for the first person who successfully catches a public school teacher breaking this law." This organization told supporters to designate online donations as CRT bounties, critical race theory. The article went on to say Frank Edelblut offered mild criticism. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. Not at this horseshoe anyway. Though the Department of Education published the online reporting form, complaints will go directly to the State Commissioner on Human Rights, which can dismiss them or investigate further. Decisions against teachers could be used by the State Board of Education to discipline them, including revoking their license. if you don't think that stress on any teacher, you just don't understand teaching. I just feel horrible for our teachers. They have worked harder than they ever anticipated. Their rewards are very different, but they have given everything they have, and it's not getting any easier for them with the COVID, with everything that's going on. They're having sicknesses in their family. So to the teachers, I say thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Okay, and with that, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn. Okay, motion by Ms. Ziem,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Guarino. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned at 9:20 PM.
Thanks for hanging into the.
Thank you for sticking with us.
Thanks for hanging into the bitter end. Appreciate you.